Well, welcome to the Congress Centre in sunny London. Thank you for making the trip and braving the underground and the vicissitudes of the British transport system. Today we are joined by people online as well as in person, and therefore a warm welcome to you watching us on YouTube as well. My name's Jonathan Abra. I am responsible for putting this together. You'll see a little bit more of me later on, but the majority of this will be delivered by colleagues from Innovate UK. In a moment, I'll hand you over to Amy. First of all, a quick whiz through the agenda. We've got lots to cover today, so it will be 100 miles an hour. However, a lot of what we'll be saying is referring you to other sources of information. And for those in the room, there will be the opportunity to speak to us in person after all the presentations. So, yeah, hang on to your seats. It's going to be a quick one, but very full, lots of information. So we'll start off in a moment with an introduction to Energy Catalyst for those that aren't familiar with it, and a little bit about what it is, what you need to do in order to qualify. There'll be a lot of questions, I imagine, engendered by what you hear, so we'll have a quick question and answer session after that. Then we'll go into the nitty-gritty of how to apply for Energy Catalyst funding. There are quite a lot of rules and regs, and fortunately we've got Victoria here who will take us through that. After which I'm sure you'll have no questions at all, but just in case you do, we've built in a Q&A session then. I will talk you through how to build a consortium, how to go about making the best of your application. There are some tips and tricks that you really should consider. And then a few people in the room and some online will be pitching their concepts for projects for round 9. We'll then break for a bit of lunch and some networking. Because we haven't got all the people that signed up to attend today, I think you've got about 4 lunches each, so I hope you're hungry. And then we'll be going through some information about the accelerator program, which runs alongside the competition. We'll be joined online by Charlotte Ray, who's going to talk about gender and social inclusion, which are very, very important parts of the competition this time around, even more so than previously. And then we'll see a short video of a case study, somebody that's previously applied. So there will be the opportunity for one-to-one networking with us after the presentations. As I said, there is a sheet at reception for those that are in the room. If you'd like to sign up to speak to myself or to Stafford or to Victoria, please do that. In the coffee room, where hopefully you've availed yourself of the fantastic cookies and the really good coffee, there is also a rotating wall of slides that you've submitted or that people online have submitted with their project ideas. So please do have a look at that. There's QR codes on there, so if you snap at that with your phone, that'll take you through to their web pages. Without further ado then, I shall invite Amy to the stand, and I'll play this while she does.
Energy Catalyst has been transformational for UPI over the past number of years.
What inspires me is the fact that we're solving a real problem.
Our Energy Catalyst programme, we wouldn't have been in this region. We could never have funded a project like this.
It's the ability to create a reputational benefit of knowing that you've had funding from such a great partner as Innovate UK.
So we had the idea, but we were not in a position to be able to set up a project on this scale.
First of all, thanks for all your help and support.
We've come from far and we can see the future.
In the future, this biogas will change our lives. That's our hope.
You can say we are sponsoring the community, we are giving them a good future and a bright future.
My name's Amy Flynn. I'm an Impact and Performance Manager at Innovate UK, currently supporting the Energy Catalyst. And I'll be giving you an overview of Innovate UK and the Energy Catalyst today before handing over to Stafford. So a bit of background. So Innovate UK is part of UK Research and Innovation. So we work with the government to invest over £7 billion a year in research and innovation by partnering with academia and industry to make the impossible possible. So through the UK's 9 leading academic and industrial funding councils, we create knowledge with impact. And as you can see, Innovate forms part of that. So Innovate UK aims to do 3 things. We aim to inspire through providing thought leadership on business-led innovation, state-of-the-art and focus areas, and we also contribute to the government's innovation strategy. We also aim to invest, so we want to explore the potential of a new area, develop new products, processes or services, and accelerate the process of going from idea to market. And we also want to get people involved. So we want to bring together potential collaborators with relevant expertise to provide access to equipment and facilities. And we also have regional presence, so you can seek advice from the KTN, Edge or the catapults in your region. So at Innovate UK, this is kind of an overview of what we do. So we fund and we support growth. So we have managed programs, ISCF competitions, innovation loans, investor partnerships, sector responsive areas, and also those innovation and growth advisors. And in the 2020-2021 financial year, there were 1,500 products and services launched, £3 million worth of follow-on investment, and approximately 2,500 jobs created or will be created over the next 3 years. So what is the Energy Catalyst? So the Energy Catalyst accelerates the innovation needed to end energy poverty through financial and advisory support, and by building strategic partnerships and uncovering new insights. Energy Catalyst helps bring to market technologies and business models that can improve lives in Africa and Asia and the Indo Pacific region. Energy Catalyst is a springboard for innovators to de-risk, accelerate and demonstrate their solutions for ending energy poverty. So what is the Energy Access Challenge that Energy Catalyst is trying to resolve? So there are around 789 million people still lacking access to electricity in 2020. Without sustained efforts, 650 million people will still be left without access to electricity in 2030, and it's estimated that poor electricity access is costing Africa 2% point reduction of their GDP each year. The vast majority, so around 80% of those gaining access to electricity worldwide are in urban areas, and this represents a major opportunity for decentralized and smart energy systems. And obviously there's a need to limit global warming to below 1.5 degree rise. So here are the core values of the Energy Catalyst. So we want to accelerate solutions by providing financial and advisory support as a springboard for innovators to de-risk, demonstrate and deploy solutions for ending energy poverty. We want to build networks, so the support catalyzes strategic partnerships and connections across the energy access ecosystem to help commercialize new technologies and business models. We want to unlock impact, so the support aims to help innovators pioneer new ways to improve lives in Africa, Asia and the Indo Pacific region and create economic opportunities. And we want to share knowledge. So by uncovering these new insights from testing and demonstrating innovation, the Energy Catalyst contributes knowledge, case studies, and lessons learned which benefit the wider energy access ecosystem. So how do we do this? Well, there are 3 main activities to the programme. Collaboration, so we get partners from across the world together who have the needed expertise to develop the innovation for market. Competition, we run open funding calls, which we will be talking about today, to provide grants for innovative solutions, and acceleration. So those who are awarded funding are also put into an accelerator programme, which again we'll be talking about later, to make sure the organisation, no matter where in the world they are based, they are commercially ready as well as technologically ready for market. So here we can see some stats on the success of the Energy Catalyst competitions. As you can see, while it is somewhat competitive, with just over a quarter of eligible applicants receiving funding in round 7, don't be deterred from applying, as over half were above the 70% scoring threshold, so some very good projects coming through. So a little bit more on the impact of the overall programme. So the Energy Catalyst has supported 183 energy access relevant projects to date. This comprises of over 350 unique organisations across a wide range of energy access technologies and themes, and has targeted at least 34 countries in sub-Saharan Africa and South and Southeast Asia. This slide shows an overview of the technology areas we focus on. Obviously comes as no surprise that since we fund clean energy technologies and business models, that the main technologies represented here are renewables and energy storage. And where do we fund? So this map shows where projects funded under the Energy Catalyst have been focused. As you can see, a large proportion of projects have been funded in South and Southeast Africa and South and Southeast Asia. There are, however, 50 projects which are not represented on this map, in order to not misrepresent the data. These projects are typically early stage and are working to refine their target country or region, or have applied to considering multiple countries or regions. So alongside those statistics previously mentioned, it's worth noting that from the Energy Catalyst funding, 174,000 people have been impacted by the 360 plus projects funded. There's also been 165 new pieces of technology prototyped, with 127 new patents and £4 million worth of sales. So as you can see, the impact is quite impressive. And this slide just shows a bit more of the impact that the Energy Catalyst has had through both noteworthy articles and fundraising activities. Thank you very much. I'll now hand over to Stafford, who will be talking through sort of the scope and eligibility of the round 9 competition. Thank you.
Wonderful, thanks Amy. Morning everyone. So I'm Stafford Lloyd. I'm Innovation Lead for Clean Growth Strategy at Innovate UK, and I'm helping run round 9 of Energy Catalyst. So I'm going to get into details of money and how to access it, which I'm guessing is what you're all interested in and here to hear about. So a bit of background to begin with. This is important because it sets the, I suppose, strategic context of the fund and what they're looking to achieve, and hence what kind of projects might be successful in terms of applying for funding. So Energy Catalyst is funded by the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office and the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy as part of the UK's aid budget. And the overall fund is called the Ayrton Fund, which is named after this lady who I discovered yesterday. I live near Portsmouth. It was actually born in Portsmouth. So I saw this little sign, I thought, oh, I recognise her. So she was a female scientist, I think the first lady to present to the Institution of Electrical Engineers or something like this, and a suffragette. And follows the trend of naming funds after old British scientists. So yeah, it's a large fund, and this is the, I suppose, where the money for Energy Catalyst comes from. And the main objectives it has is, probably as you're all aware, about transforming energy access, funding technologies, particularly around solar, storage involving batteries, helping with clean cooking, obviously reducing carbon, which is what we're all interested in, cooling systems, and something new, which is also adding dimensions around low emission and electric vehicles. So a very high level view of round 9 for Energy Catalyst. So we've got £20 million available, and this is across 3 strands, or different strands of the competition, early, mid and late, that broadly span the what we call technology readiness level spectrum. So early is for what we call feasibility studies, so they're smaller projects to determine if something's feasible or not. Mid, which is slightly larger, which is what we call industrial research. So I kind of see that as more as prototyping, but in more of an industrial setting rather than a lab. And then late, which is the larger scale project, so you can apply for up to £5 million to do what's called experimental development. But I like to think of those more, I suppose, conveniently as kind of pre-commercial demonstrators. So you're demonstrating something in the field, moving on from a prototype. And to be in scope, your project must address all of the following criteria. It's obviously got to help with energy access, which has been described. It's got to meet our definition of clean energy, which I'll unpack, and it has to properly address issues related to gender equality and social inclusion, which again we'll unpack for you what we mean by properly address. So energy access, so this is really what it's all about. So as Amy's articulated, there's a big problem in lots of parts of the world that people don't have sufficient access to clean and affordable energy, and that's something through the UKA budget we would like to address. And it's through this programme particularly, it's about speeding it up through innovation. I think one kind of clear thing we want to emphasise in terms of our work on energy access is the business model dimension. So we're a business-led innovation agency, and as much as it's about the technology, it's about how do we get those things to market through innovations in business models. And that's really what we want to see, because a lot of the time it's not necessarily the tech, it's how you put it together, and also looking at more systemic solutions that address barriers to getting things to market and scaled up, which is really what we want to achieve. So yeah, it can involve various things, so supporting development testing, like I said, business models. There's got to be a clear social and economic benefit in Sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, or the Indo Pacific region, which is the target areas we're focusing the programme at. And it can include creating new energy access or improving existing access to provide a more reliable service. And this is all, again, in the context of SDG 7, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Just to be clear, so I'm not going to run through these, but this is all on the website. So this is the target list of eligible focus countries. So basically your project must target one or more of these countries across the regions. I'm not sure, for those of you probably familiar with Energy Catalyst, the Indo Pacific is a new addition, following on from the FCDO's refocusing of the programme. Again, clean energy access. So we used to talk about the energy trilemma. We don't use that phraseology anymore. We just talk about clean energy. And what we mean by that is a technology or business model which is affordable, reliable, and low carbon. And if your project doesn't do all 3 of these things, it's not suitable for the programme. Basically, won't even make it past the eligibility criteria. And the next aspect is obviously the gender equality and social inclusion. And the main criteria, so again, there's a core question on this in the application, and it's about ensuring that you understand who the main beneficiaries of the project are, how any potential negative effects of your innovation or business model will be mitigated, and basically providing a plan of how this will be addressed and how your project will encourage equality. And I mean, the way I like to look at this is people often think of it in terms of their consortium, their project, and how maybe diverse it is. And for me, the emphasis is more on the innovation in the business and how the benefits of that will be, I suppose, more equal. You know, you won't exclude certain portions of the population, and you will think about how your innovation benefits society, particularly in these regions as a whole, rather than just a specific aspect, and ensuring that you have that whole focus. And fundamentally, for me, it's about making better innovations and businesses, because if you can access more of the market by making it more inclusive, ultimately everyone kind of wins. So that's the focus for me. But someone will unpack this a bit more in detail. So as I said, some of the money from this comes from the Foreign Conflict Development Office, and they have specific areas of interest, which is obviously important for you, because if you hit some of these, then you're probably more likely to get some funding. So as I mentioned before, they're interested in next generation solar technologies, business models, smart and green grids and mini grids, energy storage, including batteries and mechanical, hydrogen, modern cooking, particularly electrical cooking, low energy inclusive appliances, what we call leave no one behind technologies and business models, technologies and business models that target poor or marginalized groups or fragile contexts, and sustainable cooling. So that's a very high-level run-through of round 9 and the focus areas. So I'm now going to go into a lot more detail on the eligibility. So as I said, so this is funded the UKA budget, so it's ODA funding, so what we call official development assistance. So obviously because of this, the funding comes with certain kind of hooks. So the projects must, so in other words they have to, it's not optional, demonstrate there's a clear economic and social benefits, have a primary beneficiary in the ODA eligible countries, and basically if you don't prove this then you won't make the kind of grade to be assessed. So that's pretty basic stuff. Rundown of the eligibility across the different strands of the competition at high level. So I talked about the feasibility studies, industrial research, experimental development. So I said the feasibility studies, smaller projects, so it's 50 grand to £300,000. That's total costs. 6 to 12 months duration. The UK SMEs can make a sole or joint application, but it must be led by an SME academic or RTO, so research and technology organisation partner. It's encouraged to involve international partners, but it's not mandatory, and research participation is capped to 50%. Industrial research, so we've got 50,000 but up to 1.5 million, 12 to 24 months. These must be collaborative, must be led by a business, and some work must be done in the countries identified, or the target countries the project seeking to enlist benefits in. So as I say, partnering with an international entity is required, max 30% research participation. And for the late stage, again up to 5 million quid, can be much longer as you'd expect from larger projects, and they have all the same kind of fixed criteria as the mid-stage around. It's got to be collaborative, got to be led by business, you must have the international dimension, and research participation capped at 30%. This is all online, by the way, so don't worry if you're not missing all this. So types of organisations we fund is basically anybody within reasonable limits. So obviously businesses, we're a business-led innovation agency, so we like funding businesses, but we also fund universities, RTOs, so research technology organisations, non-governmental organisations, public sector organisations in other countries, in particular research council institutes, basically anyone doing research activity that meets the scope and eligibility as described. I suppose the hook is you must include a business element, and if you are a small company that's 100% owned by a large company, then we class you as a large company, so you can't apply. Or you have the restrictions associated with your application as described. Because there's an international dimension to Energy Catalyst, we have a slightly different project administrative structure. So there's generally 2 types of leads. So the administrative lead, which is kind of as described, it's the organisation that leads the, I suppose, more of the project management side of the project, making sure everyone's doing what they're doing, and they will, for example, distribute funds. So if we've got international partners, then we'll use a hub and spoke model for the distribution of the grant funding. And these must be UK based, and they must claim funding through the competition. And for the early stage, it can be UK SME, academic or RTO, but the middle and late stage project it basically must be UK business. Then the technical lead is more of the, I suppose, the technology or business side of the project, what it's actually doing, development of the scope of the work packages, and this is where the international dimension comes in. So it can be so the technical lead can be anyone from anywhere in the world, which would probably encourage that, because I imagine local businesses and organisations will have a better understanding of the context in which the technology or business is going to be deployed, which would be advantageous. Can be a micro, small and medium-sized enterprise, academic or RTO. They again must claim funding, and this can be a UK business. So this is the leads, and then this is just a little slide that unpacks the types of collaborations that we would typically see. So this is round 9, so obviously we've got a lot of precedence in Energy Catalyst. So I'm not going to run through that, but we can look at it later if you like. So collaboration, so in all collaborative projects there must be at least 2 organisations claiming grants, otherwise it's not collaborative. And the UK Admin League can count as one of the collaborators if they're involved in the project beyond an administrative role. So basically what we're saying here is that you can't just bring in somebody to do the admin to meet the collaboration requirement, that it has to be a meaningful part of the project. If you've previously submitted into Energy Catalyst, you can resubmit to round 9, and round 10 is also going to run, so you could, dare say, you can resubmit to round 10. So additional requirements. So as has been mentioned, we run something called Energy Catalyst Accelerator, which is basically wraparound support to help develop your business and idea and get it to market. And you basically must enroll in this program. It's run by the Carbon Trust. We're going to hear a bit about it later. And as with all Innovate UK projects, there comes a reporting and monitoring requirement. You will be allocated a monitoring officer. You have to do quarterly reports. And this is all obviously very important for us because we have to justify what we're doing to our funders. And this is ultimately public money, so it has to be an element of auditability and transparency behind what we fund and what people are doing. So I think that's it for the very high level run through of the eligibility. Any questions?
Great. We've got a couple of roving mics in the room. So Steph, we'll take questions in the room first, and then I know that we've got a few from online participants as well.
Hi, I'm Nick Gibbons from New Resource Partners. Stafford, thank you very much. You touched on one thing that's really interesting. You mentioned transport, low carbon transport, as a new theme in this round, I think.
Yep.
Could you just expand a bit more on that definition, or is that something better to do over coffee? Up to you.
Could be better to do over coffee. So this is linked to the End Fund and FCDO's co-exposed direction of travel, no pun intended. So, I mean, I'm aware of, there have been projects, not sure if they've been funded by Energy Catalyst, but I've seen examples of EV innovation in, I suppose, more developing countries, for want of a better phrase. Yeah, I mean, if that's the focus of a project and it hits the scope, then I mean, it's something that would be of interest. I mean, I suppose it's new to me, and I've got a background in electric vehicle technology, so it's interesting. And I suppose one kind of trend I'm seeing, I'll be honest, being relatively new to this program, is obviously where you're looking at energy access, particularly electricity access. Obviously, then the idea of electrifying things around that becomes much more potentially beneficial when looking at things in a broader sense. So that's why there's been a lot of work around electric cooking, and I suppose then the next natural thing to be look at, well, how can we improve mobility? I mean, I suppose the catch would be, if you're looking at something that's going to work in, you know, in an ODA country, it's probably going to have to be maybe different to the kind of vehicle or business model that might work in the UK, for example. So I know I'm looking at Alice because she's the expert. Anything to add?
Hello everyone, I'm at the back. Sorry to make you all turn around. Transport is in scope, but it is, we're not going to fund you to build a new, you know, electric vehicle. Wrong programme. So it has to be linked to the energy access side of things. So we've had some with kind of interchangeable batteries for scooters and bikes and things like that. But it all goes back to how are we creating energy access in a low carbon way. So you have to think of those linkages between transport and energy access rather than just a plain transport project.
No gigafactories or anything?
No gigafactory, sadly. Not today, at least. Maybe next year.
Not for £5 million.
I'm Kevin Simpson from Malawi Fruits. 2 questions, I'm afraid. The first one relates to that, whether electric vehicles would extend to electric rotavators, for example, in agriculture. Okay. So that's
interesting.
Depends how you define a vehicle.
I don't I don't see why not. Yeah, as long as it meets the kind of scope and yeah.
Okay. Second question is more specific about our organisation. So we're a UK NGO, and we have a wholly owned company which is registered in Malawi.
Okay.
Are we eligible to apply? Because NGOs don't seem to be within scope.
NGOs are definitely within scope.
Oh, right, that wasn't...
Yeah, sorry,
right.
I did mention it, but yeah, it wasn't, yeah, but NGOs are in scope, yeah, yeah. So,
as the lead, or the lead has to be a UK company, or can it be their Malawian company?
So it depends what strand you're going for and which lead you're talking about. So if you're going for an early stage, you can just have a UK entity, and then the admin lead has to be a UK entity as well.
Right.
So it depends, kind of which strand you're going for, but yeah, the technical lead can be an organisation from anywhere.
Yeah.
Within reasonable limits, kind of any organisation, do you know what I mean? It has to be legally registered and, transparent in a sense, auditable.
Yeah, sure.
So.
Thank you.
Ibrahim Tagolia from Green Hydrogen Solutions. One of the challenges around green energy is that it is more expensive. So when you say affordability, whether it's electrons or hydrogen or even, electric vehicles, it's going to be more expensive. So just a comment, how would you judge affordability in that context? Can we look at, in the projects to look at innovative ways to subsidize the end costs and things like that? So that's just a question.
Yeah, and it's a good point. I mean, so yeah, and this is almost about the main kind of theme of the competition, right? Because that's part of the problem is energy is too expensive. Using current technology and in current kind of business models and supply chains and whatnot, and people don't have sufficient access. So we're about improving that access and developing innovative ways to do that in such a way that it's also affordable and low carbon, etc. So yeah, I would say what we're looking at is innovative ways of solving this challenge. I mean, so personally speaking, I don't think energy it is too expensive. I just think we need to look at the problem in a slightly different way and think about innovative ways that we can overcome these cost barriers and improve access. So whether it's a business model where you call it some way of subsidizing, or a way of looking at different ways of creating value through multiple, value streams linked to an energy project, like if you want to include something related to mobility or delivering services or cooking, do you know what I mean? So I think that's almost what we're pushing at. I think is how do we make it more affordable and do it in a way such that it's, again, we're also, because again I think a theme of the competition is improving social and economic outcomes in these countries, so in such a way that those outcomes are improving.
I'm Abi from Sierra Power. I kind of follow-up question from his question. So I think 2 weeks ago when we had the virtual meeting, I got a contact from an NGO in Malawi. So I think they want to collaborate with us. We are a private company, so I think they're eligible to partner with us in Malawi as an NGO. Now the question is, I'm sure we are going to make profit from the project in Malawi. So the issue of profit sharing, considering the NGO is non-profit organization. So how do you have details on that?
Well, I suppose, if it's not profit, I always think not profits, they do make profit. It's just what they do with it's different. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. So yeah, so obviously I mean, one thing I don't think I've run through is, I think we're going to talk about next is the funding rates. Is obviously, these things have to be co-funded to a degree. So if there's a financial means to do that, that's obviously a good start. And yeah, as long as the project fits the boundaries in terms of the costs are eligible and it's within the funding rules, then post-project, if things progressing, which will be good, and you're making profit, excellent. You know, we're for profit. Then yeah, I suppose how you divide that between yourselves is between yourselves. Want a better phrase? Fairly, I would hope.
We have somebody else in the auditorium, but I'm just going to hand over to online now. Jenny's been doing a sterling job of covering all the questions online, but there's still a couple outstanding, I think.
Thanks, Jonathan. So the first one, Stafford, is can the overseas entity, so the international partner, be a higher education or research institute, or do they have to be a business?
They can be a higher educational research institute.
Lovely. And the second one is, again, related to the international aspect. So the eligibility of partners, you mentioned that a technical lead can be from anywhere in the world. Does that mean that someone in Brazil, say, could be the lead, and as long as there's partners from UK and Sub-Saharan Africa and Asia involved?
Yes.
Lovely, that's it, thanks.
Hi, I'm Zane from EG Technology. Are there any limits on subcontracting on this competition?
I think there are. I can't remember off the top of my head. There isn't? Oh, she's shaking her head. No limit?
Basically, the principal don't take it.
Okay. Reasonable, I think, yeah, some wording around that. Okay.
That sounds reasonable. Thanks.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Ejovi from Greenest Energy Limited. I've attended a number of briefing events, and I observed that we have a new introduction, the incubation program. I think it's the first time we're having it.
The accelerator program, is that
the incubation program, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would like to get more information on things like eligibility and how it works, what the aims are.
Okay. So I think it might be easier. So I think you're talking about the Energy Catalyst, the acceleration program, which is the kind of business support element that we offer to funded participants in projects.
Yes.
Yeah. So actually, the chap sat behind you, I'm pretty sure. Ian.
So we'll be talking about this just. We'll be talking about this just after lunch, kind of what it involves, how you get involved, that sort of thing. So. Right after lunch, but happy to answer any questions as well before then or afterwards.
So I'd catch Ian, and he'll give you the long and short of it.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Just got one. Okay. Oh, we have one more.
One last
in the auditorium, unless there's any other hands.
Hi everyone, I'm Joanne from Simplex Clean Tech. My question, when it came up and it said 2 leads, do you have to have an admin lead and a technical lead in the application? And do they have to come from the same organization?
I suppose the only exceptions that would be is if it's a feasibility study and it's a single you can apply as a single beneficiary, when obviously in that circumstance there's only one organisation, so there's only one lead, which would be the admin. Yeah, otherwise,
it's both.
Although a UK organisation can be both.
Thank you.
I hope everybody heard that response, which wasn't on mic. The answer is yes. The answer is always yes, unless Alice is involved, when it's usually no. Sorry, not fair. No, the sticky buttons on this computer, I think. We're not breaking yet. How on earth did that happen? No, we've done that. Okay, but I do apologise for this. Have we done this bit?
Yeah.
Questions and answers. This is in the wrong place, so I put our our break slide in the wrong slot. So this is a sneak preview of what's to come, but not yet. So at this point, I'm going to hand over to Victoria, who will take you through a little bit more of the detail of how you go about applying. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to go through some bits about IFS, also some of the funding and key dates and everything like that as well. So when you enter into IFS, when you click the apply on the competition webpage, you'll be directed here, as you can see on the first snippet there. So you can use a keyword search for the competition to find the competition that you need. From there, you can then click into the competition. This is where you can then see the tabbed view, so you can see eligibility criteria, scope, key dates, and also information on how to apply. So this screen here is just giving you some examples of when you log in to IFS. So the lead applicant does need to create an account in IFS. So if you have applied previously into a competition, you can just simply log in. If you have forgotten any of your password details, then you can just go to the forgotten your password link there. Now you can use Companies House to look up to search for your organisation, just to save you typing in everything. But if you are not on Companies House, then you can manually enter your information as well. So this is the first section that you'll come to, so the project details. So as you can see here, we have the application team, the application details, subsidy, the EDI, project summary, public description, and also the scope. So these next two slides are just going through the questions. So this kind of first snippet here is the questions 1 to 9. What we've done is we've added the titles, but also whether an appendix is required also on the questions. So on this slide, as you can see, question 7 is a mandatory appendix. And if I just move on to the next slide, then you can see that question 10, 11, is optional appendix, and 15 and 17, yeah, are mandatory. I'm choosing to use this thing and not this for some reason, but okay, so just moving on then to some of the application finances. Okay, so when it comes to labour costs, please enter the role within the project, the gross annual salary, the number of staff, and the days to be spent on the project. It will then automatically calculate the total costs. If you do have multiple people within the same role, then you, on the same average salary, then you can enter the role within project field. If you have an employee that is part-time, then you should enter the costs at the full-time equivalent. So you can adjust the working days per year from the default if that is different for the project. Okay, so a lot of information here about capital expenditure. I'm not going to read the whole entire slide to you, but this information will be available to you on IFS. And if you do have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. I'll answer the best I can. But just kind of a bit of an overview, the expenditure on capital is eligible for funding. So all materials must be directly related to and essential to the goals of the project. Again, I'm not going to read absolutely everything on the slide. Okay, so in regards to subcontractors, so if the cost is going to be significant, then you will need to justify who, why, what you need them for, both here but also within your application as well. So it's important that you justify the use of subcontractors within your application. If you use a parent or a sister company, please ensure that you list at cost and do not include profit. So just moving on to some funding rules. So the level of funding awarded will depend upon the type of organisation and type of research being undertaken in the project. So IFS kind of will advise the maximum grant based upon the answers that you have provided. And this slide here is just giving you an example of the percentages. So you've got the business, research, public sector organisation, charity, and research organisations. And then we have the percentages there as well. And then on the last column, we have experimental development as well. Again, won't read absolutely everything to you. And again, this slide here is just an example of the consortium. So we've got here the organisation type, the size, and eligible costs and percentages there as well. Okay, so just moving on to academic partners. So academic partners in your consortium will need to complete a JES form, and they should already be familiar with the JES form. So the form does validate costs for us, and Innovate UK do not have access to the JES system to extract the information ourselves. So this is why we asked for it to be sent to us. Okay, so just moving on then to submitting your application. So this is a summary of the project costs available to all organisations within the project. You will not be able to see any more breakdown or detail of anyone else's costs. So this is also what the assessors will see as well. So for collaborative applications, IFS will highlight to the lead applicant any partners who have outstanding finances to complete. So all finances must be included in the application before the lead can submit. It will also check that your research participation costs are within the requirements. Oh, I moved too much then. Okay, so if you needed to edit your application once it's been submitted, as long as this happens before the close, then you can go ahead and edit if you need. So if you need to, you can first reopen your application. There it is at the top, so just reopen. So on your IFS dashboard, you will see the option to reopen. The option to reopen is also visible on your application status page. So once you've reopened, you can go ahead and make any changes to your application. But when you have finished, please do remember to resubmit. It doesn't automatically resubmit once you've made the changes. So as you can see here, just at the bottom, please do remember to resubmit. Okay. This next slide is just giving us a bit of an example of the applications that are submitted very, very close to the close date and time. We really encourage you to get your applications in as soon as you possibly can, just in case you have any questions that you would like us to answer or anything, or you need assistance or anything. And again, any IT issues, can be resolved in the time. So please do get your application in as early as you can. So I'm just going to move on to the assessment. So coming up next, I just have two videos to show. So the first one is going to be how do our assessors assess. So it's just going to give you a little bit of information on how the assessors assess.
Innovate UK uses independent assessors to ensure that the funding application assessment process is fair and transparent. Before an assessor can assess for us, Innovate UK will verify their expertise and skills. Once verified, they will become part of a pool of assessors drawn from both business and academia who are industry experts across all innovation areas. All assessors must sign confidentiality agreements, declare any conflicts of interest, and attend an assessor induction session. Only then can they undertake assessment work on behalf of Innovate UK. Applications that meet the competition eligibility criteria will be sent to a maximum of 5 assessors. who will independently assess the content of your application using a scoring matrix. Innovate UK are looking for novel solutions that address the challenges outlined in the competition brief. Our assessors will score each section of your application and provide written feedback based on their individual interpretation of your project idea. It is important that you include all the relevant information in your proposal, as the assessors will base their assessment on the information provided. Our assessors are unable to contact you if anything is unclear or missing from your application form, nor can they ask anyone else to review an application in their place or give another opinion of their assessment. Innovate UK and its assessors will handle your application with the strictest of confidence, and data protection rules will be adhered to at all times. We also ensure the anonymity of our assessors, and assessor names will not be disclosed within the feedback provided at the end of the assessment process. The competition brief and guidance for applicants provides helpful advice on how to complete and submit your application. We strongly encourage applicants to read these along with the competition scope and eligibility criteria before applying for funding. Innovate UK is committed to making the process as straightforward, fair and transparent as possible, ensuring that the very best applications make it through to the project stage. For further information and support, please visit www.innovateuk.ukri.org. Making the process as straightforward, fair and transparent as possible, ensuring that the very best applications make it through to the project stage. For further information and support, please visit www.innovateuk.ukri.org.
Lovely. So I've got another video as well. So the next one I'm going to show you is how are successful applications selected for funding. Let's hope this one goes as smoothly as that one.
After the independent assessment process has been concluded, Innovate UK carries out a number of steps to moderate the assessor scores and make sure the final selection for funding is fair and transparent. First, we check for outliers in the assessor scores. We may choose to remove any scores that appear unjustified or unsupported by the comments provided by the assessors. Next, we will look at the assessor's answers to the final recommendation questions, which check whether an application is in scope and worthy of funding. For an application to be considered for funding, they must receive a majority vote from the assessors on both of these questions. Finally, we will check the minimum quality threshold, which ensures that only innovative, high-quality applications are considered for funding. Typically, this is a score of 70% or above. Once the three key checks are complete, we list the applications in ranked order with the highest scoring application at the top. This is known as the panel sheet. Innovate UK takes two approaches when it comes to allocating funding. A top-down approach, where funds are allocated to applications from the top down until the competition budget is reached. Alternatively, a portfolio approach can be used, where applications are selected to suit a specific spend profile for a competition. The competition brief will specify if a portfolio approach will be used. Finally, the recommended list of applications is then presented to Innovate UK's Funders Panel for approval. The Funders Panel will review the recommendations in line with the competition scope. Once approved, applicants are notified on the outcome and the assessor's feedback is made available. Feedback is intended to be constructive and may contain conflicting comments due to the assessor's individual interpretation of your project idea. Unfortunately, there is no right of appeal against the assessor feedback, and neither Innovate UK nor its assessors are able to enter into further communication. Some of our competitions include a two-stage application process, which could include a second-stage written application or an interview panel. And some competitions may follow a non-standard assessment approach. The competition brief will provide full details. For more information on the assessment process, please visit the Support and Advice for Applicants section of the Innovate UK website.
So I don't have any more videos, but I hope they were useful. So I'm just going to now just jump into some to project setup for successful applicants. Okay, so if you are unsuccessful in the competition, then you can use your feedback from the assessors really to develop your idea and apply into a future competition. If you are successful in this competition, you will be assigned a delivery executive who will guide you through the project setup process. You will have 30 days to complete the project team details and bank details, and you have then 90 days to complete the project setup. So funding may be withdrawn if this is not completed within the time frame. So please do ensure that you get all the information in that's required. Okay, so just some key dates. So the competition is open. The briefing event, we have had the briefing event and the recording is available for you to watch. The submission deadline is the 10th of August at 11 o'clock. As I mentioned, please do get your applications in as soon as you possibly can. And if you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. And we will be aiming to inform applicants by the 21st of October. So thank you very much, everyone. I think I'm doing the Q&A. Might ask for Stafford's help.
Any questions in the room? We have one across there, and I'm sure a couple more will materialise as you digest what you've just heard.
Hi, yeah. We've got a subsidiary out in Kenya, and I'm just thinking, should we include them as a project partner, or you mentioned sort of sister companies could be as a subcontractor. I don't know what the best way to get them involved in the project would be.
Good question. Stafford, is that something you can help me with?
I mean, it's probably not a helpful answer. I'll probably say it depends on the project and what you feel would be best. I mean, obviously, you know, we're looking at projects that clearly have the ability to deliver outcomes in the target country, which means having beneficiaries from the target country meaningfully involved will be looked upon favourably. But yeah, I mean, you know, used to sit where you guys are now, and I understand that it's something sometimes not as simple to make a decision about what's the best way to get involved. So I would say it's kind of down to you, but I'd bear that in mind. If that helps.
So just to follow up on that one, so it depends on how you're setting up things like labour costs and where the money goes through PAYE, basically. So in the application, there is a thing saying, can you state which is your in-country entity? So if you're applying as the main company and then you're using your subsidiary, you know the word I'm trying to say, then you need to put that in the box. But basically, if they're set up as a separate labour strands, you'll need to add them as a second company. If it's all going through the main company, then you won't. So it's that kind of stuff you have to, and it will depend on how your company's set up.
Any more questions in the house? Oh, we've got a couple. Good.
You mentioned in the previous presentation there was going to be around 10 of this as well. Do you have an indication of when the deadline might be for that competition also?
Don't have dates for round 10. No.
I think early 2023 is the closest we can say at the moment.
If we do take your advice and submit early, is there an opportunity to resubmit if you want to update, or do you have to start a whole new application?
Yeah, so once you've submitted, you wouldn't be able to make any edits. So when I say early, I don't mean rush it through and get it in, you know, as early as possible. I just mean as early as as soon as you're comfortable and happy with your application, you know, but not, you know, at the wire, I suppose, right down to deadline, day and time. Because once you've submitted, you can't make any edits. You can make edits before you submit, though, so.
Okay, I've got a question. This is actually probably more for Stafford because it's on scope. For the transport element of the fund, is an alternative fuel such as solar biofuel powertrain for multi-purpose use in scope? So I presume they mean developing that system and that alternative fuel.
I'd say initially yes. I mean, you know, we're quite open-minded when it comes to you know, the kind of technologies and things that we're funding, as long as it hits the scope. And obviously there's the focus on energy access, clean energy, all the things we've talked about. So if they feel that they can answer those points strongly, then I would say why not? Yeah, unless Alice has got anything to add.
All good from me.
I'm a bit concerned about feedback. So obviously when I make my application, I expect a fair scoring from the assessor. So obviously we're looking at innovation, an attempt to solve a problem. Not exactly a solution found. So if we're looking at something like feasibility study, I don't know how open-minded the assessor is. So when I make my application, I have a certain positive outlook. But it's possible that the assessor, who is a professional, will score me very low. So my application may not actually be approved. So I don't know if the assessors are open-minded, looking at it from the perspective of an attempt to solve a problem.
Yeah, so I mean, they definitely will be, you know, open-minded, and what they'll do is they will really look into your application and the questions that you've answered, all of the information that you've put into your application. So, you know, my best advice would be to, you know, to answer the questions, you know, read the questions through, read the eligibility and the scope through as well within the competition, and make sure that you answer the questions that we're asking, that's kind of the best advice that I can give, really, because they will be open-minded, but I don't know really how the assessors are going to score your application. And we will always also have a look at the assessor feedback as well. So once all of the assessments are done and they're in, it's part of my role to go through and check the assessor scoring and everything. And if there is an outlier for an application and we feel that it's justified to take it out, then we will do so. But the best advice that I can give is just give the assessors all of the information and answer the questions in the application.
If I could just add a couple of points on that. I will be talking after the break about maximising your chances by putting together the best consortium and the best application that you can. But having been an assessor on other Innovate UK programmes, I can say that assessors are always looking to award marks. We do not deduct. So it's a case of building your story so that people have the evidence in order to give you the marks to build your score up. Again, the point that Victoria just made, there is a panel of assessors. It's not down to one individual, so you get a broad range of inputs and different perspectives, which is useful because with the best will in the world, we come to assess with our own mindset, and I will try to be as open as I possibly can, but I may not have sufficient information which will be balanced by my co-assessors. So that's how we address those issues of openness and being I can't think of another word, open to new possibilities, because yes, it is an innovation program, and if it's something new, great. If it's just a slight variation on a theme that we've all seen before, then it's probably not going to fly. We are looking for, the assessors are, Innovate UK are looking for new ideas, novelty.
Sorry, just I suppose on the point that the gentleman raised, because one of the things that I've noticed in applying for these things, because as beautiful and as young as I look, I am 100, the language of business for me is not the same. So in making these applications, sometimes you don't know what business language to use, and I think that's what the gentleman was trying to get across, because that's how it interpreted itself to me. So within just the four of us, we've had 4 different interpretations on what he's trying to say, but in, like I said, the language of business is changing all the time. So if you're an older company, you have older entrepreneurs like ourselves. Well, yeah, I know you, yes, youth in disguise. So if, you know, how do you get around that? Do you ask a postgraduate to help you fill in your bidding? What sort of business language are you looking for in making your assessments? Because like you can see, I could talk forever. I know it's only 500 words, but it'll be more storytelling than factual.
I'm going to be looking directly at you when I deliver my Making Your Best Application presentation after our break. So there's a lot of that kind of information in that section. So thank you for asking. Thank you for drawing attention to that point. So I think we've got another one in the room, but I'm going to hand over to Jenny, who's got a couple from our online participants.
Thank you. I have a question from Daniel in Nigeria. As a supporting partner in this round, do we have any part to play in filling in the application, or will all of that be done by the admin lead?
So the partners will need to complete their, I didn't touch that just by the way. The partners will need to input their finances, and the lead will need to follow up with the partners if they haven't done so, because they won't be able to submit their application otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
No, that's it.
Hi, thank you. Oliver Blakeman from Art Power. Sorry, I have a few questions. One won't be very original, but I'm going back to the organisational structure and what you mean by collaboration. We've had a question on wholly owned subsidiaries as local country legal entities. Does that count as a collaboration? Or do we need other legal entities to be collaborating with us? Do you mind if I list a few questions off?
Yeah.
There was some questions around language and who the assessors are. Are they academics, or are they business people, or are they civil servants? Or okay, because that speaks to language a lot of the time, and also what is considered to be innovation.
Yeah, so the assessors will be kind of a mixture, and they are selected based on their expertise, and you know, that we feel that they are best suited to assess into our competition.
Have you got a breakdown of how many academics versus business versus?
No, that isn't something that I do have, and I don't know if that is something I can share. Actually, yeah.
Alice may be able to contribute.
I had two more, just to add to that. You've been in Malawi and Rwanda recently. Do I take that as an interest in those countries particularly? And then the other one was around CapEx. So my understanding was that this was a CapEx centred fund, but is that true, or would you fund software, would you fund systems and development and that kind of thing? Thank you. Sorry for those.
Can I just answer the first question before we go on to the others? So generally, we try and put one academic on it, 2 people that have got an ODA background, and then 2 people that know your technology specific. Obviously, I'd like them all to know everything, but generally, experts don't exist that cover every single thing. So that's normally the ratio we try and work for. Doesn't always happen because of availability, but yeah, 1 academic, 2 ODA specialists, 2 tech specialists. ODA, official development assistants, so those that understand the developing context within the countries that we're working in. So we're trying to get more people from in-country who understand the market, what's going on, but obviously that is, anyone that knows the history of Energy Catalyst knows that it used to be a UK programme, so we are gradually managing to get more and more international assessors in, but yeah, it does depend on availability.
Can you answer the first question about subsidiaries and collaboration?
Can you repeat the question?
Sorry, I'm interested to know what's meant by a collaboration, specifically in relation to wholly owned subsidiaries in local countries.
So we classify a collaboration as two separate organisations working together. When it gets to mid and late stage, it becomes a collaborative research and development project rather than a feasibility. So if you've got a subsidiary, which is a part of the main company, that's not really a collaboration. You'll need someone separate. And what you want to focus on in your application is, why do you need that? Very rarely in these markets can a single organisation do everything for this particular project. Otherwise, why do you need to do the project in the first place? So it's trying to understand what you're good at, what bit is missing, and what other organisation can basically do that for you. And that becomes your collaboration.
Odour, nothing to do with smells. There was another part to the question. I think you mentioned Malawi and Rwanda. We've also got a trip going to Indonesia. Yes, we are interested in those countries. However, every time we run one of these competitions, we do some in-country visits. We can't visit all 74 eligible countries, so we take a subset. So there is no weighting to the assessment of a bid dependent on the country that's concerned.
So on the CapEx, I suppose the difference here is normally in an Innovate UK funded project, you can only claim the cost of depreciation on capital. I mean, if, as articulated, if you can demonstrate how it's relevant to achieving the project outcomes, then you can spend money on capital items. The difference here is that you can, in theory, there's certain hooks that come with it, claim the whole capital cost, but it has to be shown that the item will basically be moved to the target country and fulfill other criteria around how it's going to be deployed and used, and that will have broader benefits. So we basically ask you to come up with a plan about how the item will be transferred and how it will be used and maintained, and etc. But in theory, you can depreciate the whole capital cost in Energy Catalyst projects, and that's different to normal Innovate UK projects where you can only claim the depreciation, if that makes sense.
Okay. Oh, we do have one more. Steph's sprinting manfully. Okay, we're going to make this the final question before we go to the break, unless anybody else has got pressing. Nothing online? Nope. Go for it, sir.
Very quick one. Stephen Blakely from 3B Impact. Is this a top-down or a portfolio-based assessment? Are we just taking the top scores, or are you actually going to be thinking about a mix of different innovations?
Good question. I do believe it's a portfolio approach that we're going to take. Yeah.
As if by magic, exactly on time.
Thank you, everyone.
To the second. If you could just imagine a slide that says we're going to a networking break, because otherwise I have to scroll back through 30 slides. We'll reconvene at 11:45, and please do avail yourself of the refreshments and take this opportunity to talk to your fellow delegates about what they're doing. See if you can find that serendipitous contact. All right, back in half an hour. Bye-bye. in 10, 9, 8. Super. Grab a handful of toffees, make your way back to your seats. That's super. For those that are online and can't see it, there's a great big jar of toffees and fizzy chews at the back of the room. Everybody's diving in to sustain themselves through the next, whatever it is, hour and a bit. Great. Well, thank you for coming back. You've heard about the competition. You've heard about how to go about applying. So you think you might have a go. How will you go about maximising your chances? Hopefully, I'll be able to help with that in the next few minutes. So, my name's Jonathan Abra. I work for Innovate UK KTN. We're supporting the delivery of this competition. What I shall say now to those in the room, but everyone online can close their ears, is that we do offer to review a draft submission. If you have something which you consider to be close to your final product, you can ping it across to me and I will disseminate it amongst my colleagues. We will have a look and sense check it. We can't help you write. We're not allowed to do that and we don't have the capacity to do that. But what we can do is to say, you might want to look at this bit, you could do with a little bit more information here, maybe remove that, that's superfluous. So let's have a look. Building a consortium. We've heard a lot about collaboration and partners and consortium approaches. Who should you partner with? The first thing you need to consider is whether you need a partner. As was said earlier, if you're going for an early stage project, then you don't necessarily need a partner if you're a UK company or organisation. However, that's a very small sliver of potential applications, and in any case, check the eligibility rules. You might be able to, but we would always encourage you to include international partners because, well, you've seen the basis of the competition, what it's intended to achieve, and therefore why wouldn't you include an overseas partner? So you've considered whether you need to bring in partners, and if you do, well, have you worked with people previously, either on other funded competitions or in other contexts? If you've already got people that you know, why would you look elsewhere? So consider the people that you are familiar with. It's very important to consider interpersonal relationships and dynamics between your organisation and others. Okay, you've got some gaps, great, but maybe you need some gaps to be filled. Or perhaps you haven't got partners that you've worked with previously and you need to look for partners. So what do you need? So diversity, you've heard this mentioned in terms of gender equality and social innovation, but that's not only what you need to consider. And for goodness sake, don't tick boxes. We don't want to see a plethora of partners on a consortium only to fulfill a quota. That will be spotted straight away. I think there was an allusion to this when Alice answered an earlier question about subsidiaries. If your subsidiary is not fulfilling a purpose, then perhaps it's not worth including them as a separate entity. Similarly, if you're just looking for somebody that's got a particular diversity angle to them, in order to tick that box, don't. It needs to be baked into the submission. So each partner must add value. That's the shorter way of saying that. And please tell us what that value is and why they are the best people to deliver it, based on the geographic context or based on their position within the community, or perhaps their previous experience in delivering similar sorts of activity. What does a good consortium look like? You need partners with a mix of, oh, that comes in by itself, with a mix of traits. So it's an innovation competition. You'll probably have somebody that's doing some sort of research, perhaps, maybe not if it's a later stage. You need people who can bolt things together, who can deliver on the ground, perhaps, depending on the type of application. And then, above all, you need a decent business model. This is about deployment of energy access technology. So, yes, the research, yes, the people that can put things together and make things work on the ground in a practical sense, but also what's the route to market for this? What's the ultimate model for generating those profits, for making this a success? I've got a map of Africa here. It needn't be Africa, obviously. We've got a much wider range of countries. But it depends whether you need in-country research and development or testing and demonstration. Some strands don't require that. But if they do you know where you want to work? This is perhaps a stupid point, but if you're looking to deploy micro hydro systems in a very flat country that doesn't have flow, that will be picked up on. You need to relate what you're doing to the topography, to the climate, to the territory in which you intend to apply. Do you know any organisations there? If you don't, we'll come to that in a moment. If you do, have you considered the regulations and the governance arrangements? We will always look at how well integrated you are in a country and who your partners are in the country. Can you negotiate, can you navigate the permits and the regulations that apply? Very important to consider. And do you have access to suitable facilities or environments? It's great if you're developing a technology that you believe will address an issue. Do you have somebody that's got the facilities to allow you to test that in country? Can you access the relevant markets to assess the response of the potential end users? All these things are perhaps teaching grandma to suck eggs, but it's as well to consider them explicitly as you go through the process of developing your submission. And remember at all times that you must intend to use the results to deliver clean energy access in those eligible countries. And I counted last night, I believe there are 74, somebody might correct me, but I did go through the list. Going back to the earlier point, it's not just about the countries that we're visiting, all of the eligible countries are of interest. And yes, coda to that is, if you are intending to use those results to deliver clean energy access, can your choice of partners help you to demonstrate that that's the case? Excellent. You've decided where you're going to go. You've decided who you want to partner with. Are they credible? We see an awful lot of consortia with a one or two person organisation in country because perhaps they are a friend or a contact. That's not necessarily going to disbar them, but you need to be able to show us that they are credible, that they have the capacity to deliver on their role within the consortium. So they need to be a legal entity of some description, and there is a degree of flexibility in this. We are not going to the same level of scrutiny that we might for a UK organisation, but there will need to be some evidence that this is a reliable and established entity. Do they have a trading history? If they were only incorporated in May this year, coincidentally with the the launch of Energy Catalyst Round 9, we might look askance at that. We would like to think that there is something credible about the organisation and that they have some track record of delivering in the area that you're applying. And do they have any kind of history of doing the sorts of things that you're talking about? It needn't necessarily be exactly, well, it shouldn't be exactly what you're talking about because this is an innovation competition. So if it's already been done, you probably won't qualify. But something of a similar nature. Going back to the earlier point, if this is a two-person organisation and you're expecting 30-person months of activity, we might raise an eyebrow at that. So you need to consider the capacity to deliver what you're asking of them. And ultimately, I hope I don't get sued for using the X Factor branding there. It's only just occurred to me. It's probably trademarked. Anyway, you need to consider that indefinable element. So more than likely you'll be working with these people for 18 months to 3 years. That's a lot of time to spend together if you don't like them, or if they don't like you. Or if they don't like each other. If you've got more than one partner, do they get on with each other? Can they work together? You really have to consider the interpersonal dynamics that are involved. And it's one thing getting along when everything's going fine, but when you hit the bump in the road, do they have the capacity to absorb that, to reorientate themselves, to change direction, and to work together? They do? Fantastic. Sounds like you've got a good consortium. Oh, but are they bought into your vision? And consider whether they have the same aims as you do. Because if they don't, it's very easy for them to bail or not to bother because they'll chase other priorities. And you can deduce some of this by the way that they talk to each other, talk to you, the level of communication that you receive from them. We'll talk in a moment about the B2 Match platform, which is a great way to meet potential partners. And that has the facility for you to arrange online meetings with people without exchanging personal details. And it's a pretty good way, if you don't know people already, to meet, to assess their degree of enthusiasm and their credibility. It's straightforward, really. Does it feel right? I'm a great believer in a little bit of gut feeling. If there's a niggle, explore it. It may be that there's a communication breakdown and you just haven't understood each other. It could well be that there's something hidden there, and there's a lot of effort goes into preparing an application. If you win it and then you discover what the gremlins are, there's a lot of heartache that goes with that, because this is taxpayer funding and we will look closely at how it's spent and we will expect it to deliver. There's some good online guidance from KTN, Innovate UK KTN, which is our good application guide. It's generic, but it applies to Energy Catalyst, And it takes you through these elements, which I won't go into in great detail now, but it's a basic structure for any application. You need to look at scope. You have to demonstrate innovation. Again, it's an innovation competition. If this is not new, or if it's not new in territory, or it's not being deployed in a novel way, then it will fall foul of the eligibility criteria. It needs to deliver on the business case and have a decent value proposition. I had a lovely example a couple of years ago in round 8 where there was conceivably 3 potential deployment cases. That's really not a business case. That's not adding value. It's not a value proposition. If there's only ever going to be 3 installations of your technology, then you need to consider whether UK taxpayer would support that. Credible plan for the R&D, the right consortium we've talked about already, and a need for support. We need to see the gaps. If you've already got gazillions in the bank and don't need the funding, or if you wouldn't be able to achieve this end without Innovate UK stroke FCDO stroke whoever the other funders are support FCDO and help me out here BAYS, thank you, then we you know, if you don't have that need, then why should we use taxpayer money to support you? So please show us what the need for support is. And that says the right kind of risk, only it's hidden behind the logo. So risk is a very important part. If you know this is going to work with absolute certainty, go to the bank, get them to lend you the money. We expect risk, but we want you to be able to show us that you can manage it, you know where it occurs in the project and what you'll do to mitigate that risk. If there was no risk, there'd be no need for the fund. And above all, make sure you write an application that it cites and inspires. We had great questions about assessors earlier. Who are they? What's their background? Assessors, I think it says in the next bit, oh no it doesn't. Assessors are human beings. So please bear that in mind. Assessors will be looking at potentially dozens of submissions. If there are some that are dry as dust, then you don't remember those. You remember the ones that tell you a story and lead you through the need for the funding. What's the challenge? Why is what you're doing going to address that? Who's it going to benefit? And so on. Answer the question asked. The questions that are set, which Victoria took you through earlier, are there to help you to put forward your case. So there are, was it 20 in total? Around about questions. Look at the question title and answer that question. Please don't try to tell us something just to push your own agenda. It will be picked up on straight away. Again, something else that was mentioned before, assessors are looking for reasons to award marks, so make it easy for them. Give them something that flows, something that tells a story. This is the point that you were making earlier about language. A really good point is to look at the language of the questions that are asked. Read the scope again, and if you can use some of the terminology back to the assessor, then they're going to register that you're talking the same language as the competition. So it's a really good tip is to reflect the language of the scope. If you make a claim, please tell us where you got the information from, if this is something that you've done yourself or if it's something that you've got from a report. if you make a claim, substantiate it. Oh, who's that? This is my ask your auntie point. It doesn't have to be your auntie, that's not my auntie. But somebody who is not living and breathing this every day, does it make sense to somebody who is not part of your consortium or part of your organisation? So whilst it might be a flippant point, try to describe it to somebody who hasn't got this as their be-all and end-all. Ask somebody else to read a draft. Get somebody who will tell you straight. Not somebody who's relying on you for a next contract, but somebody who's not afraid to tell you when you've got it wrong. And once you have put your draft together, go back, read the scope, and then read your draft. It's a really good sense check. And then, yes, send it to me if you want a second pair of eyes on it. And again, it's the risk and reward thing. Tell us about the risk, how you'll overcome it, and why the rewards outweigh the risks that are baked in. So hopefully you'll have picked up a few good tips there. If not, go to our good application guide. You'll pick up more there. Do speak to me afterwards if you like. I've read more of these submissions than I care to remember, as have my colleagues Steph and Jenny. Great way to help you build a consortium is using B2 Match. Now, those of you who have applied before may have come across this. This is our virtual brokerage platform. And you'll say that it says there Jens Berm from Innovate UK Edge. I am not he. Jens was supposed to be here telling you this in person, but unfortunately he couldn't travel today, so he's asked me to deliver it. He didn't include any speaker notes with his slides because he knows it off by heart. I don't. So this is going to be a whistle-stop tour of B2 Match platform. However, the very first thing that I would say is take note of the address. We will give you the slides so you can take it from there. Please, please, please register. This is a fantastic resource. It's currently populated by 100 and some individuals. Last time we got up to 1,000 people on B2 Match, which is just an incredible place. It's a marketplace to meet potential partners, to exchange ideas, to do that sense checking, credibility checking. So please register on here. This is what it looks like. No, it's not. This is our webpage. This is where you can register from. So there's a link on the Energy Catalyst webpage. You can register via the link that I showed you, or it's on the webpage. This is what it looks like. So your landing page will look something like this, and you can start booking meetings as soon as you've registered your profile. But you don't want to do that, because what you want to do is to give as much information as you possibly can. I'm talking out of sync with the slides because I know that this comes up a little bit later. So if you'll bear with me, when you register on B2 Match, you'll be given the opportunity to upload your profile. So that'll be about you, about your organisation, about your potential project, what you bring to a consortium and what you're looking for in a consortium. And when people see your profile, they'll be looking for all of that information. It's searchable as well. So this is a very flexible tool. If somebody is looking for a partner that does micro hydro, then you stand a better chance of being found if you've got microhydro in your description, rather than just your name and your company affiliation. And if they're looking for a company that's wanting to do microhydro in Nagaland in India, you know, and you're interested but you haven't put it there, then it's going to be harder to find you. So give as much detail as you can, and people will be able to find you. And vice versa, you'll be able to find potential partners that much easier if they've put their details in. So this is a selection of the panels that greet you. You can't read it, I can barely read it on the laptop, but it's just really an idea of the forms that you'll be taken through. And then on the right, you've got some examples of how it will appear. It's a website, you all know about those. So this is a virtual shop window. This is a great place to find and to be found. Please be as clear as you can, as coherent, and think about what it is that you're looking for and what it is that you're adding. I realise I'm running over time. Nobody's been gesticulating at me, so I'm just going to wrap up. Once you're in, you've got a calendar. You can arrange meetings with others. So you meet online at a mutually convenient time, exchange information, talk about your potential projects. It need go no further than that. If you decide that you don't like the cut of their jib, no problem. You haven't exchanged any personal information. If you think this is something that you really want to pursue, then it's up to you to take it offline or pursue it within B2 Match. Here are some participants. You can see that there's 39. This was about 3 weeks ago, I think. That's how you request meetings. Be proactive. Go out there, look for people. And so on and so on. So, in summary, this is where people will find you if you don't already have partners. We can also help you to find partners based on who we know from previous experience and who's in our database, but it's so much more powerful if you use the interested parties already. I say be active, not reactive. There may be some webinars online. I'm not sure about those. I'm looking for guidance in the room. They're coming soon. So, you know, attend those, look at who else is online and who else is interested. Make sure that your calendar shows when you're available. That makes it easier for people to meet with you. And just get involved. It says at that point questions, but I'm not going to take any because it's not my presentation. So just to reiterate that we need you to get online. Amy's offering to take questions, but I'm going to decline because I've run over and we need to go to the pictures before we crash the lunch break. So that's the end of that element. In terms of consortium building and making a good application, are there any questions? No? Fantastic. Oh, yes, there is. Great. Go for it.
Yeah, I think that one of the key things is finding partners in country that is much more difficult than finding some of the UK partners that you might want to do research with. Is there anything beyond this that can help with that particular aspect of it?
As I say, you can contact KTN, you can contact myself, and I will use our good offices to put the word out there. However, it is quite constrained to those people who have participated in previous rounds of Energy Catalyst. The onus is on the applicant to do that. this is the best tool that we have available to us beyond word of mouth. So, yeah, get in touch, but B2 Match is by far the best option to do that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. This is where it gets tricky, and I'm going to look to Ash for guidance.
Sorry, to the
on
gentleman
this. Oh, sorry,
who just
I
asked
beg
that.
pardon.
Sorry, oh my God.
Carry on.
The gentleman who just asked that question about in-country, we found that using the DIT trade advisors, quite helpful. Department of International Trade, DIT, their trade advisors, in-country trade advisors, we found them helpful.
That's good info. Also, your local Innovate UK Edge delivery partner will have lots of contact, so they're worth getting in touch with. And if you don't know who that is, we can also help you with that. We've made provision in the agenda for some pitches at this point. So we've got some companies in the room, or who opted to be in the room. I'm not sure if they're here. And we've got some online. So if anybody owns this slide, they ought to be in the room. And if they aren't, are they online?
Yeah,
yes? I've got thumbs up from the back.
Page, so no,
great. So
no need to turn page.
I'm not sure how this goes. It's Zubin K Zubin. Off you go.
Yeah, it's good. So I only have one page, so no need to turn.
Thank you. Got that? It's up on the screen.
Okay, all good.
And we can hear you loud and clear. If you'd like to talk to it and tell us about your potential project and about your organisation, that'd be great. It's a long way to Hull. There's obviously a little bit of a time lag. We'll leave it on the screen, and you can see that low carbon hydrogen from biomass fermentation. That's interesting. Aims to integrate plasma assisted catalytic conversion of biogas with AD and carbon capture and storage. Please correct me if you can hear me.
Hi, yes, we can hear you, Jonathan. Zubin seems to have, oh, here we go. Hi, Zubin.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
You can go when you're ready.
Okay. Yeah. First, I come from University of Hull.
Oh dear,
Yeah.
we seem to have a bit of a connection problem. We've got sound dropout. We've had your slide on the screen for a long time, which has given everybody opportunity to read it. I will ask you to speak to it once more, but unfortunately we keep dropping sound. So over to you for one last try.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Shevin K from University of Hull. Our university is an academic research university. We can provide process system engineering and research infrastructure, material chemistry, and membrane and process. Currently I'm senior lecturer, and I was a chemical engineer for 8 years, mainly for power plant and petrochemical industry. So my project is low carbon hydrogen from biomass fermentation, and this aims to from the fermentation process we call AD, the anaerobic digestion, and integrate with carbon capture and storage called CCS. So that's mainly from AD we got methane and carbon dioxide, and we collect carbon dioxide and allow the methane, CH4, directly become carbon and hydrogen. So our technology, or the current technology readiness level for AD is almost commercialization, and as well as the CCS. So the core technology is plasma membrane reactor. That is function to degrade CH4 to carbon and hydrogen. So we look for the partners, and particularly for end users, can build up the demonstrator plant, and we can say is around the 100 cubic meters per day. It's around this scale, and the end user could be the use of hydrogen or methane or heat or electricity. So we keen to look for the partners who work for showcase the pilot plant. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and we got all that all the way through, so fantastic, thank you. If you think that you are a potential end user of hydrogen or methane or heat or electricity, and you're looking for a novel process, you know who to get in touch with. EG Technology, are you in the room? You are. Oh. By all means, yes.
I've done this before you. Use a bit of a cue up here. Hi there. You, I've been threatened to be kissed after 2 minutes as well.
No.
So no, we could avoid that. I'm great, but
not in the current.
No, okay. No, that's true. That's true. So hi everyone. I'm Zane. I'm one of the associate directors at EG Technology. We are a Cambridge-based product development agency. So if you're sat there with a great innovation or a great idea for an innovation that you think is applicable, but just aren't comfortable with how you might develop that, to demonstrate it, to test it, or to put it into the market, then we should probably speak at some point. So just to kind of provide a couple of ideas of inspiration while you read through kind of what we do and how long we've been around and all that great stuff. A couple of things that we've done. So these products might look familiar. We worked with a startup called Alert Me that had the idea that if you could manage the energy use in a home, then you could greatly reduce that energy and bring about the cost and the carbon reductions, and that is now the Hive product range that we're all familiar with in this part of the world, and that's expanding rapidly. Clearly, energy efficiency is a great kind of stepping stone towards enabling decarbonisation, and we continue to work with Hive to develop all their products. This, which is slightly blurry on the screen, is a low-cost, rapidly deployable incubator by a company called MOM. You may have seen them on the BBC News recently because they've CE-marked that product, and that's now being widely deployed in Ukraine, and it was designed exactly for that sort of rapid deployment scenario. So if those sorts of things are kind of the technologies, the products that you're thinking of, then we can help you with all the engineering aspects to actually turn that into reality. So I'll be around the rest of the day. Please come find me. Thank you. Yes.
If you're wondering what he was alluding to there, we used to be very strict on the 2 minutes and sidle up to people and give them a hug. Definitely not a kiss. Don't know where, maybe that was wishful thinking. Okay. Acceleron, are you in the room? I'll just leave that lovely branding on screen.
Hi everyone, I'm Michael Downey from Acceleron. What we've done is we've designed and patented and developed battery technology that you can access the cell level of lithium-ion cells. With that, what we've been able to do is produce battery products that are maintainable, recyclable and upgradable. It's been a really good way for reuse of second life battery cells, so looking particularly at sort of end-of-life electronics or EVs, we can reuse the cells that would either otherwise go to a landfill or to recycling. We can get the maximum amount of value out of that lithium there. So as I was alluding to, we've got partner institutes in Kenya and going to be soon in Uganda, where they are looking at the testing of those second life cells as a route for lithium cell supply. So we're really looking at a broad range of different projects. We can supply the batteries if other people have the applications in which they need the battery technology to be used. We're open to sort of working with that. We're also trying to be quite agnostic in the technology for the cells themselves. So if people have new technology to do with lithium-ion cells, we're open to try and sort of integrate that with our battery products. We've done several sort of energy catalyst projects before, so we do have good knowledge and experience with the processes that we can advise and help with anybody that's looking to get into it for the first time as well. I'm going to be around today. I'll put something online on the new portal, so if anybody wants to get in touch, please do.
Fantastic. See everybody's eyes light up when he said we've done this before. Always a valuable commodity. Earth Carbon Foundation, have we got somebody in the room from Earth Carbon Foundation? If not, yep, we've got them online. Terrific. Earth Carbon Foundation, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Thank you. Over to you.
Good afternoon. Globally, we help SMEs in preparing carbon footprint reports, which enables them to understand their impacts on the environment. We develop tailor-made programs which are targeted, cost-effective, irreversible. All our surplus income is recycled in creating carbon footprint awareness. Till date, we have reduced 27,000 of carbon from 28 contracts, saving billions of dollars as input cost for SMEs. Our capabilities we can offer is to mitigate your footprint. We use CDM methodologies. We provide carbon pricing, carbon costing, and budgeting services. We also offer sustainability reporting and also GRI. We help companies in achieving their SBTi targets and GHG targets. About our proposed project, recently COP26 ended up missing desired targets set to reduce 2-degree rise of Earth's temperature. This was due to pandemic and current flaws in the system. The system allows polluters to wash their sins for committing more sins by submitting certified emission certificates. A need for robust, irreversible concrete system for impactful actions is a challenge we face today. We help customers in creating baseline deriving targets to achieve the net zero, and we also disclose their achievements on public domain for brand building. We are looking for partners who are holding patents, who are researchers or technology licensors, and are looking for to launch their product and services. We offer single window partnership in exploring Southeast Asian markets like India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, and Africa. As a community manager on C4D World Bank Group, we have an experience in developing ecological, social, net zero programs. Thank you. Thank you, Innovate UK, for the opportunity.
Amit. Thank you, Amit. That's great. So again, going back to the point about having local context, it seems that Earth Carbon Foundation might be able to help with exploring South Asian markets and perhaps substantiating claims around the degree of clean energy. Jamebi. I'm looking for a thumbs up at the back of the room. No thumbs coming. Nobody online. Oh, that's a shame. Or Sun Life Water by Jamabi. Novel solar water pasteurising technology. Looking to trial it in situ. It's Barry. Is Barry online? No? No? Well, Barry had the opportunity. I'll leave it there for a couple of minutes whilst we take it in, and those who are online can snap the QR code with their phones if they're interested in following up on that. And anybody else that would like to have access to a solar water pasteurising technology, get in touch with Barry. Such a shame. How about the University of Port Harcourt? No, shakes of head at the back of the room. Port Harcourt, Nigeria. Very, very big industrial region. University of Port Harcourt is quite prestigious. If you're looking for a researcher in... Oh. Oh. I'm pressing back on my thing here and it's not going back. Oh, you've moved it to the next one. Right, thank you. I'm not in control of anything. Right, so yes, our next presenter ought to be talking about eHemp House. Peter, are you with us? I feel like I'm presenting...
I'm here.
It's a little bit like a Eurovision Song Contest, isn't it? So, I can hear you. Where are you speaking to us from, Peter?
Right. So my name is Peter Miles, and I'm one of the founders of eHemp House. You can see on the screen there. And eHemp House is all about the green industrial revolution. I'm going to touch quickly on three things of parts of our overarching strategy. One's industrial hemp, one's talking about Africa, and the other is our technical innovation, which we've called the Smart Box. Can I have the next slide, please? So I don't know how much you know about hemp, but essentially it sucks more CO2 out of the atmosphere when it grows in trees. And it grows very quickly, from seed to harvest in 100 days, unlike sort of 30 or 40 years for trees. And when harvested, it can be processed into thousands of green products across many industry sectors. So hemp not only helps us when we're combating climate change, but it also provides us with many green alternatives that drive our green industrial revolution. Next slide, please. Africa, you're all aware, it's the fastest growing consumer market in the world. There's 1.3 billion people who live there today, half of whom are under the age of 20. And 50% of the global total of what the UN classifies as underutilised land is in sub-Saharan Africa. That's an enormous 200 million hectares, which is about 10 times the size of England and Scotland combined. And agriculture in Africa faces two structural issues preventing it from making use of that underutilised land. The need to have power in the field to actually move water to the crops, irrigation, and access to processing facilities to turn their harvest into a commercial product, without which the farmers wouldn't plant the crop in the first place anyway. So the question we're going to answer quickly is, how do we kickstart a green industrial revolution in Africa with hemp? Next slide, please. And the answer is our patented eHemp House Smart Box technology. And the Smart Box is like an off-grid mobile mini hemp processing factory that you can place right next to where you're intending to cultivate your hemp. And the power it provides can be supplied to communities, and for farmers, it processes the crop and can be used for irrigation. That's neatly solving those two structural problems for African agriculture. And we have an innovative commercial model which includes carbon credits, which are derived from that feature I mentioned with the CO2 that the crop sucks from the air. And it means we can provide these units free to the farmers who would otherwise not be able to afford the system. And it means small and medium-sized African farmers can now fully participate in this green industrial revolution and build secure economic futures for them and their communities. So our Smart Box really is the spark that's going to ignite this green industrial revolution. Next slide, please. So we're currently raising some funds. As you can see, we've got a UK fund as a lead investor, and we're trying to fill in the rest of the fund to actually be able to roll out and deploy this system in Africa. And final slide, thanks. So there you go, Jonathan. I don't get kissed.
That's great, Peter. That's a really good exposition of your company and your aims. I'm not sure that I picked up whether you have a project that might fit with Energy Catalyst Round 9.
Yeah, it's for the development of the prototype smart box system to be able to get it to Africa and trial it in the field. We have a farm, a base there, which is already operating, but the whole technology for the smart box system is the project that we're looking to potentially put through the energy sector.
Sorry, I micro-zoned out there. Where is that located?
So we're a UK company. The development team is in North America at a university called Binghamton, and the farm, we have a farm operational base in Zambia, in southwest Zambia.
Thank you. Great. That's all of the presentations.
No, not quite. Barry is with us.
Barry's with us. Right. Let's scroll back to Barry, if we can find him. Jamabi. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you, Barry.
Thanks, Jonathan. Once an ice cube and 500,000 people still die.
Barry, could you stand a bit closer to the microphone, please?
Yeah, sure. Is that better?
That's better, thank you.
Yeah. Once an ice cube nearly killed me. 500,000 people still die every year from drinking biological nasties in their water. This problem needs fixing now, but how? Can the sun help? Can you help at this meeting? And why can ice cubes moving forward? Thanks to support from the UK government, Liverpool University and the World Health Organization, who safety tested it, we have a patented technology that's approved as safe to use in the sunny tropical world. Our Jamebi solar water pasteurization device makes rainwater, river water, and lake water clean to drink. The size of the bed, it arrives flat-packed and needs no mains power. It just needs biocontaminated water and sun. It gets rid of fuels used for boiling water to clean it. It can help to liberate forests from being burnt, or it can stop money leaving communities to buy fuel. Not only does it help to protect intestines from infections, but it can also reduce smoke damage to lungs. And women who spend time near open fires or caring for sick people benefit most. On a sunny blue sky day, it can clean 1/4 of a ton of water. That's enough for 25 to 100 people, depending on how much water they need and whose water consumption guidelines you read. I'm looking to meet governments, business, and communities where I can trial the technology, both technically and socially. Long term, I'm looking to license the design and manufacture of it to countries and target countries in sunny tropical areas. I'm also looking for talent, partners, and VC funding. I'd like to meet you now. My name is Barry Johnston of Jamebi. Thank you.
It was a bit of a fuzzy line. I think we got the gist of it. However, I'm going to leave your slide up there a short while whilst people snap the QR code, which will take you to further information if you want to find out about Jamebi. And since we've got lots of time and I'm curious, is Jamebi a word or an acronym? Or where does that come from?
It's a made-up word.
A made-up word. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great stuff. So if that is something that you'd like to investigate further, please get in touch with Barry. Now, we are well ahead of schedule because I gabbled through the B2 Match presentation. If there's anybody in the room who would like to talk about their technology, their organisation, their interest in Energy Catalyst Round 9, you've seen the format. Come to the front and do your thing.
I think I might have spoken already to a couple of you.
because I saw my slides up there. But anyway,
Sorry,
so
your slides were
in the free biscuit room.
right.
Sorry to everybody watching online. But yeah, essentially, I'm a founder of Smart Reflectors. We're trying to provide heat energy primarily for less than the cost of fossil fuels. So we're using solar reflectors to do that. They're very similar to the solar reflectors you see around a solar tower power station that track the sun and reflect at a target, in this case heating it. But yeah, our solar reflectors are very low cost, very small. It's essentially a solar light with a telescopic umbrella inside that opens up a large reflective mylar sheet, tracks the sun, provides the energy in the same way as the other reflectors, except they're very low cost. You could put a 50 kilowatt system on a donkey and ride it up a very wiggly mountain pass, which is basically what we're trying to find, because I believe in a lot of countries there's situations where people need this energy. It can be used for heat. It can also be used to top up solar panels or thermochemical energy. Yeah, so if you're interested, please come and see me. The website's smartreflectors.com. And yeah, look forward to chatting to you guys. Is there any questions? I must be very good at explaining it.
So if I got that correctly, you're looking for donkeys?
Well, I mean, anybody who's interested in using that energy or areas where that energy could be used, essentially. Yeah. Well, I suppose actually, well,
being facetious.
I should have also mentioned we're working with the University of Birmingham at the moment, who are doing the CAD, and we're about to be working with Nottingham University to do the tooling to mass produce these things. But we could still do with some help with electronics and software. If there's anybody here from academia who are interested in that, who are ERDF funded, that would be amazing, because that would fit in with our current academic partners. But yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
Terrific. So that's smartsolar.com.
Smart Reflectors.
Sorry, smartreflectors.com. And there's a rolling screen in the lunchroom with that presentation on it. I do apologise for not making it into this deck. That's obviously an oversight on our part. Smartreflectors.com. 50 kilowatt, did you say?
50 kilowatt system.
On the back of a donkey?
Yeah.
Doesn't it
Yeah. No, that would be energy scavenging, wouldn't it? Yes. Electric donkeys, right. What will they think of next? Well, in the absence of any further... Oh, yep, great, another candidate. Please talk very slowly and at great length to take us through to lunch.
Hi, my name's Catherine Bottrell, and I'm founder of a company called Pilio, and we do analytic solutions in energy, carbon and nature, but are currently working on a net zero solution in fashion that links fashion brands here in the global north with their supply chain at the village level in the global south. We're working in Pakistan and we have a feasibility study at the moment under Energy Catalyst 8, which is piloting solar microgrids and energy darbars, which would be providing solar lighting, cooling, and also social enterprise for women. So we're very agnostic around our technologies. So if there's any solutions within the Energy Catalyst that would like to use a use case of off-grid within the cotton growing communities in the Punjab, be really interested to talk to you and see how we might be able to deploy and test your technology. And we are linking with the quantification of the avoided carbon emissions so that the brands who are setting these net zero targets can compensate within their supply chain, and the fashion brands are putting up the capex for this infrastructure. So I hope that gives you a flavour for our work. and we're hoping to expand from a 5-village trial into probably 20 villages in 2023.
How will
Thanks.
people contact you?
Oh, my email is Catherine Bottrill, BOTTRILL. Piliogroup.com is our website. So it's just Catherine@piliogroup.com is my
Pilio
email.
is spelled?
PILIO for the butterfly effect. Small change, big impact.
And Catherine is the conventional CATHERINE?
Yeah. Yes. See the better way. Great, thanks.
Great, thank you. My daughter has 3 friends called Catherine, all spelt differently, so I'm always conscious that there are many ways. So Catherine, CATHERINE, @pilio.co.uk? Piliogroup.com. Great. And Gold Dust, an end user. Those sorts of people are absolutely what everybody's looking for. Any more takers? Any questions, either in the room or online? Oh, we've got another taker. Fantastic. And then we'll go to a couple of questions, I think, from our online participants. Oh, we've got a roving mic. Go for it. Wander up and down in front of the...
I wanted to use your board.
Oh, right. We're going to get
I didn't...
art style sketching.
I'm just going to draw something.
Pick you up. First of all, whilst you're preparing your graph, who are you?
Hi,
Where are you from?
I'm Oliver Blakeman. I'm from Arc Power.
Thank you, Oliver.
We build mini-grids in sub-Saharan Africa. And in doing so, we generate electricity that looks like that. If that's, I'll get told off with my axes. So we generate a lot of electricity in the daytime. And
So that's time on the x-axis and kilowatts on the y-axis.
And our consumers almost invariably use a lot of electricity outside of daytime hours. So I'm here. I thought I'd stand up and ask for anyone that has solutions that will move energy from the daytime to the evening hours, or generate electricity in the evening hours, that it's 100% renewable. This, as an industry, in the mini-grid space, particularly off-grid, is the biggest problem. It speaks to the fact that our tariffs are high, and our revenues per user is low. It's indexed to the cost of storage, so you're not competing against the kilowatt generation from solar, which is relatively cheap. You're competing against the cost of storage, which is expensive. And so it tips the economics with regards to what you've got to deliver. I'm particularly interested in different storage technologies, but any form of offset, ability to offset energy across those 2 time periods. Yeah, I mean, certainly reduced demand, but we're talking, I mean, if you're talking off-grid in Africa and you're talking about the 360 million people that will be accessing first-time energy, this demand is very low. So, you know, you're not talking about, we're talking about very low usage households. We do a lot of work in increasing demand for productive use, and that's been a big focus on in the industry. You will have a market for productive use if you can use energy in this period. But if you can shift that energy with your technology, there's an entire industry waiting for you out there. Thank you.
Terrific, thank you. Jenny, I think we've got something from...
Yes, we've got a few questions for the Innovate UK gang. So, first of all, can an organisation lead on multiple applications, or is there a limit on how many times you can be the lead applicant?
I think that's one for Victoria.
Yeah.
Down here at the front, in the green. Come on, Steph. Earn your crust.
We're keeping him fit.
The microphone is reaching the front.
Thanks. So, what was the question
So,
again?
can an organisation lead on more than one application, be the lead on more than one application?
I
or
want
is
to
there a
say
limit?
yes. Yes.
Unlimited times, as many as they want.
Yeah.
I think the key is, do they have the capacity to?
Yeah, I think if it would definitely raise some questions. Yeah, but yeah.
Okay, and then a follow-on question is, can an organisation be a partner on lots and lots of applications? Same answer.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And then a question about, again, about the technical leads and people involved in the project being from anywhere in the world. Some of the work has to be done in the eligible countries, but can the rest of the work be done in Europe? Or does some of the work have to be done in the UK? Do you have to have a UK company involved?
I'm looking for Stafford for a little bit of guidance.
Yes. So, I mean, so yeah, you have to have a UK company involved to fulfil the requirements of the admin lead. I suppose organisations from European countries could participate. I can't see how they would receive funding, so obviously we can't fund them, I don't think. Actually, no, we could. Yeah, we could. Yeah, so I suppose, yeah, in theory.
All the work could be done in Europe and Africa or Europe and Southeast Asia and not anything in the UK.
I think so. Yeah. Is that? Yeah.
So, for those that can't see, we're getting nods from the back of the room. So the answer is that you can participate in Energy Catalyst from wherever you are in the world. You don't have to be in a recipient country or the UK. And some of the work can be done in a third country, so long as you have your UK admin lead and you have your in-country partners for the deployment or testing. Yeah.
The only slight caveat was, I think remembering the information on the slides now, so if there's only two entities in a collaboration, it's got to look like the UK entity's there for more than the purposes of being the admin lead.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So, good. Any more questions from online? No, that's all? Right, we appear to have brought... Oh, another question in the room.
Our idea is to attempt to solve the energy problem or energy access problem. So we're looking to establish a system that can generate power that is affordable, reliable, and widely available. So we think that the best way to do that is by using a motor generator system. So we've spoken to a number of professionals, and their concern seems to be with the talk in a rotary kinetic system, kinetic energy system. So I observed that a number of big names like Cummins Generators have been awarded funding, and a number of other companies. So I was just wondering if there's any sort of tracking of monies awarded, funding awarded, and any kind of success with projects that have been executed over time.
Well, that opens up an enormous area. Yes, the funding is very carefully audited and very closely tracked. Every project has a project monitoring officer who ensures that reporting is done at the appropriate intervals, and not just reporting, but checking that the objectives of the project are being achieved and that the metrics are being met, or if not, why not. And there is a closing report on every project from a financial perspective and from the achievement of objectives. Regarding funding of Cummins generators and others, I'm not aware of individual projects. I think, and I'm going to look to people from Innovate UK, that this is all publicly available information. All of the investments can be interrogated if that's what you want to do. But I missed a key point of your explanation about rotary power. Was that some? Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so I tend to read a lot about power generation.
Mm-hmm.
I read somewhere that the electric motor is the best prime mover. So if you're looking to generate power by electromagnetic induction,
mm-hmm.
there are 3 factors that must be present. So we must have motion, and the velocity is a factor. We must have a conductor or a wire, and we must have a magnetic field. So as the magnetic field crosses the wire, it induces a current flowing through the wire. So that's where we get the electricity from. Obviously, when we talk about renewable energy technologies like wind energy, what is being done there is the wind energy is being extracted to drive the generator. The only problem we have is intermittent generation. Sometimes there's no wind, and at other times the wind energy is variable. So we could have excessive energy, and then the turbine is locked to avoid damage. So what we're looking at is a system that operates reliably, sort of always or all the time, and is able to deliver energy in a consistent manner. So most of these technologies are very expensive, and then you have to think of transmission from the point of generation to the point of consumption. All of these things add up on the cost. So our concept is to generate energy where it is being used. That will help with the cost, and also in terms of reliability. Magnetic energy is present everywhere. So we only need a system that can work continuously.
Okay.
But the tendency is we're confronted with things like perpetual motion. So the professional will first of all ask you, where is the energy coming from? Or where is the source of the energy? So we're looking at kind of a closed system, just like a laptop works. There's a battery in a laptop, which can start up a motor.
It sounds like you've got some technical concepts. Do you have a use case? Have you got somewhere that you would look to deploy this? Have you got somewhere in mind, a country or a region that you'd like to work in?
Yes, we're looking to start off in the UK
mm-hmm.
to validate the concept.
Okay.
Because I have experience applying for patent intellectual property protection.
Great. And that is something that we haven't mentioned today, intellectual property per se. I think it was probably in one of the slides that I truncated from Victoria's slide deck. Intellectual property, that needn't necessarily be patent protection, but any kind of ownership of the technology or the concept that you're promoting is very important. So, you know, do make sure that in any submission that you put in, that you elaborate on your license to operate the technology. We need to make sure that you're not going to infringe on anybody else's rights. So I can hear Jenny tapping away online. Any more questions, Jenny? No? Okay, so she's just chatting. Oh, Gen Z, eh? Right, so we've got an extra 10 minutes. I'm not going to call us back earlier because we've got some people joining online who have an organised time. This just means that we've got 10 minutes extra for networking or for checking on our emails. So we'll come back at 2:15. Lunch is in the area where you took coffee and cookies earlier, or if you're online, lunch is in your kitchen or at Starbucks. So please do avail yourself of the extra 10 minutes. Stretch your legs. It's a lovely day outside in London. I've no idea what it's like in Edinburgh or Lagos. And we'll see you in just over an hour. To the afternoon session where we're going to discuss the Energy Catalyst Accelerator Programme and the gender equality and social inclusion dimensions of Energy Catalyst. Before hearing from a case study. Thank you for staying if you're in the room, and thank you for coming back if you're online. It's good to know that there's a good number joining us via the interweb. So, without further ado, I'm going to welcome to the stage Ian Meager from, well, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thank you. How do you control the next? Okay, thank you. So thank you, Jonathan, and hello everyone. Hope you enjoyed your lunch and are not feeling too lethargic for this after lunch spot. So my name's Ian Meager from the Carbon Trust. I'm going to talk to you about the Energy Catalyst Accelerator Support, so it's business support programme that's provided to Energy Catalyst grantees alongside the duration of your grant project. So the support's currently delivered by a consortium led by the Carbon Trust. I'm going to give an overview of the background for this, the need for the support, how it's been structured to date, and some of the activities that have been included so far. So just to recap a bit on some of the background, I know this has been mentioned a bit already, so I'll try to whiz through it a bit. But as we've heard, the ambition of Energy Catalyst is to accelerate the access to clean energy through helping innovators to sort of de-risk their solutions, demonstrate their solutions, and deploy them in the market. Alongside the demonstration and deployment, there's an emphasis on network and partnerships. There's also a recognition of the importance of an impact focus within Energy Catalyst. The ultimate impact is targeting the improvement of livelihoods and economic circumstances in developing markets. And the programme as a whole has been designed really to help accelerate that. And there's also a real focus on understanding the importance of sharing knowledge and insights, both knowledge from the market to the grant projects and the sharing of knowledge between different grant projects that are running. So the structure of the programme has been designed to try to deliver this vision. Again, this slide's already been shown, but as was mentioned, there's the funding competition stream, where you've heard a lot about the eligibility of this earlier today. There's the collaboration and partnership focus. Again, Jonathan's touched a bit on this today, including the brokerage activities, the matchmaking support to really form the the project partnerships that are needed to deliver the impact. And there's also the acceleration stream, which is all about facilitating the business support, international engagement and the profile building that's needed to achieve the desired outcomes of the programs. So to help to provide support infrastructure to make sure that your project, once awarded, is able to access the expertise, the insights that you need to help give you the best chance of achieving the outcomes you're looking to achieve. So it's very much trying to make sure that the projects aren't delivered in isolation, because it's been consistently shown that having this additional support available to grant projects increases the likelihood of achieving positive outcomes, particularly in the context of Energy Catalyst, where you're looking to address more challenging international markets across the world. So the accelerator business support stream, it's been structured with a few key principles in mind, really to help achieve this. So on the left here we have the business support component, which is all about advisory support to grant projects, to support in building businesses, developing markets, unlocking further investment and funding. This isn't available to grant projects in the form of targeted support that's designed bespoke to your company, and also in the form of cross-project support to groups of grant projects that are working in similar areas, similar regions, on the same sort of challenges, to help you overcome, help you learn from each other and overcome similar barriers to market. In the middle, we've got the learning from overseas element. This is all about ensuring the two-way transfer of knowledge between the market and the funded projects in the international energy access market, through facilitating participation in international events, through online and in-person learning activities, through sort of online networking and in-person networking events as well. And on the right, we have support around public showcasing and dissemination. So with an international focus to the programme, it's really important that your projects and the great work that you're doing is given the profile it needs to get picked up by others in the international energy access market, and help you to build momentum for continuing the work beyond the grant. So I think we've seen this before, but yeah, looking at the international focus of the projects, it really is a global programme. We've got sort of spanning sub-Saharan Africa, some in South America even, mostly sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, Southeast Asia. Delivering business support to projects of this nature is clearly going to need really specialist international, regional and sectoral focus specialists. So to be able to deliver this, to be able to help you in the best way, Innovate UK Energy Catalyst, Carbon Trust, we brought together a delivery consortium of different international partners to be on hand to help you achieve what you're looking to achieve. So I won't go through all of these organisations, but I'll give you a flavour of a few. So we have Carbon Trust and Eigen Ventures, who provide the sort of business coaching support through our network of experienced sort of former entrepreneurs and advisors. We have Energy for Impact, who are a energy-focused NGO based in East Africa, but with offices across West Africa and South and Central Africa. They've supported over 5,000 energy access businesses spanning solar, hydro, bioenergy, mini-grids, and many more. We've got Intellicap, a South Asia-based impact and advisory firm. They provide the expert South Asian input for projects across the region. They've helped projects in India, Bangladesh, Nepal, Pakistan, Myanmar, many more. Another organisation to mention is Open Capital Advisors. So their role has been the capital raising lead for the programme. They've got really specialist fundraising experience in the energy access space, having worked with really most of the leaders in the sector at some stage in their development, and having helped raise over $1 billion of capital across 25 countries in sub-Saharan Africa. And then we have a few more specialist support organisations spanning legal, communications, learning, gender and social inclusion considerations, all of whose expertise can be drawn down upon through this sort of business support mechanism that's in place. So the way that it's been delivered to date, the support programme, we've allocated each project with a support manager who's the main point of contact to get the right sort of expertise on board for their project. They provide the day-to-day advice and signposting. This is complemented by a country specialist. So each project has a country specialist. They'll be based in the project's target region and will have had direct first-hand experience of working in the market that the project is targeting. So this has proved super helpful for kind of that specialist market-focused advice, understanding what's actually happening in the region, who some of the key stakeholders are to speak to, and how to sort of navigate some of the more challenging market conditions that from afar can be really quite difficult to understand. And there's also a finance specialist for each project. So the finance specialist is someone that has knowledge and experience of raising finance, again, within the region that the project is focused, and they'll be on hand to provide specialist fundraising and investment readiness support depending on what type of project you're doing. This might be follow-on grant projects, more sort of donor philanthropy focused. It could be venture capital fundraising activities that you'd like to do off the back of a successful project. So it's really varied, and we try to make sure that there's an inherent flexibility built into this support team to really kind of fit your needs rather than try to do a sort of off-the-shelf copy and paste approach. So that's the background and structure, but how does the support actually help you as a grant recipient? I mean, what does it actually involve? So there's two main types of support that's available. So there's the project-specific support, which involves activities, engagements, sort of research engagements or advisory engagements that are really bespoke to your project and company's needs. And then there's program level support, which is really based around common areas of challenges, common areas of activities that multiple projects are looking at. So if there are sort of half a dozen projects that are looking at sort of solar water pumping in Kenya, then we can group together some of their key challenges and look to engage as a group with specific regulators, specific distributors in the region that they'd like to speak to, and we do get to see some real benefits from bringing together those common needs. So for the project level support, the key aspect of this is discrete sort of research or advisory engagements, both from the UK and the international partners in the support consortium. Typically, this can sort of span all major elements of a technology or business model's commercialization journey. We found that the support needs in this regard really kind of often fall into some of these broad bucket areas, but they're certainly not limited to that. So we've got kind of understanding the market and segmentation of the market, product development considerations, supply chain and operational challenges, sales strategies and developing sales collateral that's appropriate for the target market you're looking to serve, understanding different business models, so looking at pay-as-you-go business models as opposed to upfront payment models that some people are looking to explore, looking at team and board, so how might you get the right team in place to exploit the outcomes of your project beyond its completion, as well as more specialist advice around technology and intellectual property, where we can use our network of sort of expert lawyers and patent attorneys to come in and help you understand your options, and the all-important fundraising, financial strategy and capital raising, and investment readiness support, so we can help you to navigate that landscape, sort of depending on the funding needs of you as a business, you as an organisation. So we've got a few examples here of some of the types of support engagements that have been delivered over the last 2 or 3 years of the programme. We've, on the market side of things, so a good example here, we've seen our South Asia delivery partners undertake a detailed sort of market segmentation and prioritisation exercise for markets where there can be a real absence of information available online, such as Myanmar. This was a company that was really struggling within COVID without access to the market, so we were able to tap into the local presence to go out and speak to people on the ground in Myanmar. We were also able to, on another project, use our East Africa partners to support in the actual delivery of some in-country customer interviews in Kenya, using their local market knowledge, local cultural understanding and Swahili language skills to really make sure that's delivered in a proper way, stuff that we would really be challenging to do if you're trying to do it just from the UK looking outwards. On the business strategy and planning, we've seen some deep dive reviews of different commercial models for various technologies. For example, here we've got the passive solar water pump example in specific African markets. This is always undertaken by people who have that first-hand experience of commissioning and operating the technology, so they can provide that unique insights that can be really difficult to, that unique first-hand insights that can be really difficult to access. For the team and board, we've actually done some sort of more UK-based support in helping companies to develop their board strategy for going into some fundraising. Then we've done some highly localized support engagements, for example, in helping to run a recruitment process in Rwanda using sort of a local Rwandan delivery team, making sure that we, sort of through attending interviews and participating in how the process was designed, ensuring that local employment practices are followed and fully understood, and making sure there's no sort of key mistakes that are made that can really damage the process. On the supply chain side of things, this has also been a really crucial area of focus, particularly in the last few years with COVID and supply chain issues. So we've done a lot of work to help companies to understand the local manufacturing and assembly options in overseas markets like India. There's been some customs and logistics support that's been really crucial to help companies to fulfill new orders in new markets. The example here is Bangladesh, but we've done that in quite a few other countries in the region. And on fundraising and investment as well, there's been some really interesting support. Again, all sorts of different formats. A few examples here. We've helped some of those companies that are going for the more conventional sort of equity fundraise in the UK. So using experienced people that have been through that process themselves in the UK and know how to develop a strategy for it, know how to set themselves up to avoid failure. But we're also recognising that not everyone in this sector fits that model of sort of need of equity financing. So we've done a lot of work to build the networks with different foundation and charity funding organisations to help ensure that we've got the best sort of network of funders available for you depending on your types of funding needs, so that we can sort of help to force introductions or help to do a sort of a horizon scan of the different funding options available and help you to prioritise where you're going to focus on trying to raise that funding beyond the completion of your project. There's a few other examples here. I won't go through them all, but yeah, it's a flavour of some of the tasks that we've done over the course of the last few years, and there's hundreds more, literally hundreds more, because the Energy Catalyst portfolio is so big. So if anyone wants to find out a bit more about these types of tasks and how it might be able to help you alongside your grant project, then please do come and have a chat with me after the presentation. So that's project level support. As I mentioned, there's also a program level support, so that's sort of content around common challenges, that's developed for the benefit of the projects, whether that's country guides for the energy landscape in different sub-Saharan African markets, webinars on specific technical themes where we get technical experts to come in and sort of provide some briefings on specific challenges and specific markets, or some guidance frameworks and checklists for companies that are looking to fundraise. So there is an Energy Catalyst website. Hopefully there's a link at the end of these slides. So if you do want to go over and have a look at some of the common learning materials that have been developed throughout the programme, get a flavour of what's been developed, then please do take a look. There's also, so this is just an example, sorry, some of the commercialisation guides that have been developed, so the energy landscape reports for different countries, some of the webinars, some of the topics there that have been delivered over the past few months and years on specific topics that have been designed based upon the expressed sort of needs and challenges of the companies that we've been working with. So there's also, as well as the support to the companies and the projects that's kind of designed to really help move you through some of the commercial challenges that you're working with, there's also a big focus on designing support that helps learn from overseas, helps to engage with international events, UK events as well, focused on energy access and aligned sectors. So the focus of the energy, the business support, the accelerator support, is really to ensure that we can get participation of different projects into some of these events through securing delegate passes, securing high-profile speaking slots, participation in networking activities at events or different webinars. So that's been it was all online based in COVID, but last sort of 6 months or so it's really started to pick up. We've got there on the left, that's the Energy Catalyst booth that was out at the Sustainable Energy for All conference in Kigali in Rwanda a few weeks ago, and there was a group of Energy Catalyst grants from round 6 and 7 that were taken out there as part of the programme to really facilitate some of those brokerage activities, and there was some really positive engagements, really great follow-on opportunities that have been created through that. There we also managed to secure a few speaking slots for some of the companies at the event. There's also events coming up with the Alliance for Rural Electrification and a number of other partner organisations that we've kind of brought together to have as the sort of a relationship with the programme where throughout the course of the year they'll give us, through building this relationship, they'll give us opportunities to feed in Energy Catalyst companies to specific opportunities or specific events. So that's the learning from overseas. The other final bit that's really important is the sort of programme showcasing element. So as I mentioned, the international focus of Energy Catalyst means often that some of the people that you're trying to influence, some of the stakeholders you're looking to get in touch with and engage with, are pretty difficult to get hold of. Being internationally focused, getting in front of them, different time zones can be challenging. So there's been a big push on building the profile of the programme, building the profile of the projects, showcasing some of the success stories, promoting content and impact stories from across the programme, helping companies with their communications plan, developing press releases and case studies for publications, as well as targeted social media campaigns sort of directed towards specific funders and programme opportunities. We've got a few examples here of some of these showcasing opportunities. We've got the case studies there on the left on the Energy Catalyst website, some of the successful projects from round 6 and 7. We've got a few sort of media interviews on CNBC Africa and ESI Africa that we were able to secure for some of the companies within the programme. And then we've got some of the sort of targeted training on how to engage with media organisations, media outfits within the sector. Again, this is all on the Energy Catalyst website, so go have a look if you're interested. So that is my last slide. So very quick run through of the program, the support that accompanies your program, your project, to help you. So if you do get a grant project, it's available. This support is available to you. It can go in any which direction that you need to support your needs. So really do encourage you to get involved from the start, to engage with it sort of productively and see how we can best use the support to help you achieve what you're looking to achieve. If you do want to get in touch, have any questions, there's some email addresses there. Equally, I'd be happy to have a chat with anyone during the next coffee or tea break. Thank you.
That's magnificent. Thanks, Ian. Absolutely incredible extension to the Energy Catalyst programme, which was very focused on projects previously, but this is about the holistic support of the organisation and really taking it on to the next level. So, you know, if you weren't already sold on the programme, there's another reason to get involved, because the organisations that were listed on that one slide there were enough to whet my appetite anyway. Hopefully we're now joined online by Charlotte Ray. I'm looking to the people at the back of the room. I'm getting nods and thumbs up. So, Charlotte, are you there?
Hi, Jonathan. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can see you as well. That's nice.
Oh, I've lost. I think that you're very faint.
Well, you're not, so you carry on, and we'll listen to you, and I'll do the slides, and you can do the talking.
Well, it's okay. I think I've got a clicker thing. Apparently, technology's moved on since
blimey.
COVID. So
Okay.
I think if I get into trouble, I'll let you know.
Right, go for it.
Okay, brilliant. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks so much for joining, and to everybody online. As Jonathan said, my name's Charlotte Ray. I'm an international development consultant. I don't know how many of you in the room or online have been to these Energy Catalyst briefings before, but you may well recognise me from round past. I am a, shall we say, part-time academic, part-time development consultant with a specific focus on energy and gender, which I guess is quite apt for my slides for the next 10 minutes. So I guess, as most of you will know, gender and social inclusion is obviously a scope question within the Energy Catalyst rounds. And I wanted to take the opportunity for the next 10 or so minutes just to sort of talk quite simply to you about why this is important. Many of you may well already know this, be doing this, integrating this within your companies, within the technology and the products that you are currently designing and marketing, but I actually think this is something that needs consistently addressing. So why do we want to consider gender and social inclusion in the Catalyst program and in your innovations? Well, first of all, there was no MDG on energy. You know, let's take it back a little bit, but apparently, and so that energy underpinned and was cross-cutting through all the Millennium Development Goals. We then have the Sustainable Development Goals. We've got SDG 7 and we've got SDG 5, which is specifically gender. And then we also have, sorry, my animations. We also have 6 of the 17 SDGs specifically address inclusion. So it's really important to remember that actually, not just about the Energy Catalyst competition, but about the broader SE for All agenda, that actually gender and social inclusion actually cross-cuts all these Sustainable Development Goals and actually integral to their achievement. So why am I talking about gender and social inclusion, and why does it matter? Look, GESI, as we sort of aptly have named it, it addresses unequal power relations, and there are unequal power relations, and it prioritizes the need to rebalance those relations. And it's really important to make sure that in our innovations, in the work that we're doing, that we are ensuring equal rights and opportunities for all. So I'm going to start with social inclusion because I actually think from an energy for development perspective, but also from a catalyst competition perspective, that it's something that perhaps we haven't addressed as much. So the World Bank here has defined social inclusion. I'm not going to read it out to you because I think it would be very boring for you, but I think it's important that if you're going to address the concept of social inclusion, you need to have the concept and a definition. What are you addressing and why? It's important what it means to understand what it means to be socially inclusive. That means we need to be enabling all of people, all communities to fully participate in society. We need to be able to assist, support, mentor them into overcoming inequality and disadvantage. At the same time, we also need to be promoting equality of opportunities for all groups. So specifically, especially those who are disadvantaged, women, different age groups, disability groups, ethnic groups. How are our innovative products and business models actually addressing social inclusion, and to what groups? At the same time, social inclusion can be a goal, a process, and/or an outcome in the pursuit of development opportunities. It is not a one-size-fits-all approach. And it's important to note that within the projects and your scope, you're not going to be able to achieve fully immersive, gender equal, socially inclusive aspects, but to be able to prioritize and pinpoint certain needs actually is really important. So let's define gender. So actually, it's really important to understand that gender is part of social inclusion. You know, it is different social, behavioral, cultural attributes. It's also different characteristics, but also at the same time, it is not just about women, it's about men and women. And I think actually that's perhaps being too narrow in its definition. There's also other aspects that we need to understand, the needs of gender fluid and non-binary people within this as well. But it's important to say that when we talk about gender, it is not just about women, it is about men and women and other groups. Now, this particular slide, I don't know how clear, I apologize if you can't see it very well, but I want to use it as an illustration that if you're going to be able to bring gender and social inclusion into your project, let's be clear on what we mean by it. Familiarize yourself with the concepts around gender. What is gender mainstreaming? What is gender equality? What does it mean to be gender responsive? These are, you know, different organizations in the development and humanitarian sectors will have varying definitions. And again, this isn't a one size fits all, but actually, if you're going to take GESI seriously and actually apply it to your innovations, actually take these concepts, read them, understand them, define them, and then apply them to your products and services. So, also, I'm very sorry, my animations have all gone up the spout, so I'm very sorry. But let's talk about GESI energy and development right now. We know that women have proven the way in the energy sector to being able to lead more gender energy equal opportunities, and actually have greater access to resources and communities, and they actually hold a wealth of resources for themselves. But when it comes to gender, actually women are actually seen as the low-hanging fruit in energy interventions. They are the beneficiaries so often. And actually, women are very much underrepresented at the higher levels of the energy sector. So I have a couple of quotes here. You know, for example, this is from a paper that I co-wrote with some colleagues around clean cooking, for example. You know, female-led enterprises are underrepresented at the high levels of the chain, i.e. production and distribution, where mass markets are more likely to drive higher sales and revenues. So when it comes to clean cook stoves, actually we know that women are agents of change. We know that they're great sales agents. They actually can distribute and sell and create earnings for each other, but it's still also often low-hanging fruit. How many women of those are in higher leadership positions? And then obviously the other part of the slide is about how we are still as women underrepresented in the renewable energy sector. You know, they comprise an average of only 30% of the total workforce. They make up only 13.9% of senior management. And actually, they are listed in less than 11% of patent applications related to the energy sector. So I want to take this opportunity, especially when from a gender perspective, to ask companies and consortia to actually really consider the role of women in your projects. Are they senior positions as part of the consortia? Are they beneficiaries of technologies or your business models? And actually consider about that impact over the lifetime of your project. And so at the same time, on the flip coin, let's talk about social inclusion, especially, for example, I've taken one example around people with disabilities. In the energy sector and more broadly, you know, people with disabilities, especially in sub-Saharan Africa and South Asian contexts, are often housebound, they are marginalized from society, they have poor working rights and conditions, and at the same time, bringing gender back into it, they are disproportionately affected. And for example, they're also more exposed to air pollution. So when we're looking about our innovations and our technologies, what sort of solutions could be more socially inclusive? We know that solutions, for example, in healthcare settings or education settings, make technologies more accessible to those with disabilities. We can think around accessible transport services for those of working age, but we also need to be thinking about bespoke, tailored business models around for people with disabilities, for example, sales agents. That brings the social inclusion. It's really important to get that GESI is gender and social inclusion. It's not just gender. And this, again, you know, there is a difference between being gender and sort of socially equal versus equity. We might have one product, but it is not a one size fits all. How does it fit with different parts of society? What needs to be tailored or changed or adapted for the needs of different people in society? And I think so often it's very important to address that. You know, I'll give an example in the clean cooking sector, for example, that often we've got improved cook stoves that are portable, quite small, they sit on the floor, but actually those who are in wheelchairs, for example, or those who have different needs are unable to access those. So those technologies are therefore then adapted to suit the needs of different people. So are there ways of being able to incorporate those ideas in the conception of your innovations? So, you know, really drilling it home, you know, for development projects to have maximum impact, it needs to account for gender and social inclusion. And I say for development projects, but I also say for technology and products. There have been a wealth of failures in the energy sector. There have been products that have entered the market, and in 5 years' time, they have failed because they haven't taken into consideration certain aspects around gender and social inclusion. So when we come to now developing, designing our energy catalyst proposal, getting together our consortia, what are the sort of things that we can do to you know, GESI-proof our proposal and monitor the project performance? Because one thing, again, I want to stress is that it's one thing to say, yes, we're going to put gender and social inclusion, we're going to note it in the proposal as part of the scope. So we're in scope for the competition, but actually what are projects going to actually do? What are consortia going to do throughout the lifetime of the project to actually make sure that we're being held accountable to these GESI goals that we're now putting forward? So we need a commitment to GESI and we need a framework. And these are just the basic conditions for a successful GESI strategy. You know, we can all say that we're going to have 50% women in our workforce, but actually what are the conditions of that? What are the support? What's the mentorship programs in that? And that's really important. So what does it mean to have a GESI compatible framework? What does it mean beyond those words? At the same time, performance against those plans need to be closely monitored. It needs to be throughout the lifespan of the project. Successful energy catalyst winners have quarterly meetings, and actually it's something that needs to be reported against, but also actually if your technology or your innovation is going to be successful in the long term, actually what are those mechanisms that need to be put in place to make sure that we are closely monitoring the performance of our GESI strategies. And this is a very brief example of a mainstreaming approach, having a toolkit together, and making sure that gender is actually integral and social inclusion is integral throughout the lifespan of the project, through that design, the implementation, or the preparation stage, the monitoring, all of those stages. There needs to be GESI related strategies, deliverables, activities and outputs. There we go. So, and there is a wealth of knowledge online. What I don't want consortium members to do, have you still got my slides? Because, oh, there we go. Sorry, I just saw my face on the screen. There is a wealth of knowledge already out there. What we don't want to do is reinvent the wheel. And it is really important for consortium members at this stage to go and get familiar with different types of resources online. And this slide here is just a few examples of the organizations, different reports, for example, that you can and should be referring to when we're talking about GESI and our energy innovations and business models. So we need action plans. So we have a strategy, we have a toolkit, but what are these action plans? What is a GESI action plan? And actually, these need to be developed from the opportunities, but also the challenges that are revolving around the innovation in itself. And so what's important to do is to actually have a gender or social inclusive oriented goal or objective, something that is going to be achieved over the lifespan of this project, but also the lifespan of the product. We need to be looking at log frames, work plans, and reporting. These need to be continually done as a process. At the same time, we need responsive actions that will address the needs of vulnerable groups. We need to have implementable actions and plans, but we also need to be able to start to institutionalize GESI mainstreaming. So it's actually not just about putting GESI into the project. It is about, as a company, as consortia, as the different partners from all over the globe where we're coming from, actually, do we have a common GESI goal? Can we mainstream it? Can we institutionalize it? And can we formalize it? At the same time, there needs to be performance indicators and disaggregated targets. We also need to be able to present GESI responsive development impacts. This is very important. It is so often the case that in energy products, energy technologies, that we simply focus on the R&D, we focus on the technology, or we focus on how many people we're recruiting or how many patents that we have. But actually, we need to be responsive around what impact GESI is having and what does that have, like what impact does that have on the technologies in which we are creating and promoting and marketing. Okay, so excellent. When it comes to budgeting, it's very important to remember that monitoring and evaluation is expensive, and actually monitoring and evaluation is often given insufficient attention. It's often a task required by funders. We need to do some form of analysis. We need to disaggregate the data by gender, and we need to just report on it as a formal means. So actually, often it is a mundane task, often set for the end of a project, not, for example, something that is routinely maintained and checked throughout. Project leaders often do not see GESI. And I say that, in the room, there's often a lot of white male men in developing context, introducing concepts. And I say that very much as a white woman in this space. And actually, for example, being gender blind and gender naive is actually very commonplace in a lot of these projects. So actually, the overall purpose of GESI is actually sometimes forgotten. We need to be able to look and reflect on our consortia that we're putting together. We need to be able to start to understand the role of GESI that not just plays in our innovations, but also about the team makeup and where they sit. I'll come back to it. Are women, for example, or people with disabilities, are they at senior levels of management, or are they beneficiaries? Where do they sit? What seats do they have at the table? And we also then need to be able to engage with our partners, sort of strategies, their own strategies around diversity and inclusion, and make sure that we're incorporating field staff views into that. Because so often our field staff, those working, deploying our innovations, have the most context, have the most knowledge. But often, for example, women and other more vulnerable groups are actually still at the bottom of the pecking order when it comes to leadership and management. I want to put this: gender disaggregated data is helpful, but it doesn't tell the entire story. So you can have 50% of your workforce as women, but what does that mean? What workplace benefits, for example, do women have in place? What does that mean for energy access as a whole? We need to be thinking more holistically around gender and social inclusion, and start to be able to put together the more sort of disruptive, smaller stories that are taking place perhaps in country, rather than the bigger picture of sex disaggregated data. It's really important that we budget for this. It might not seem as important, or that we can do it over a small period of time, but consortia and projects should really think about the time that it will take for somebody or their own teams to do that. And actually, I think, seek quite clearly whether they actually have capacity to do so. So I wanted just to end with a couple of slides of examples of sort of GESI impacts. And I've taken a couple of examples from previous Catalyst projects. This one was an EC6 project that I myself was involved in, around the productive use of DC solar power in Africa to improve the quality of rural life. And so the lead organization was Africa Power. Now, they designed a corporate gender policy for both the UK and in Tanzania. They created and delivered bespoke training for their female agents. Actually, throughout the lifespan of the project, that they increased the proportion of their female employees, and that was across the board. So technical positions, admin positions, leadership positions, and from 17% to 40%. And actually, they increased the proportion of their female agents from sort of 20 to 68%. And this other picture on the right is just an example from the bespoke training that was delivered latter part of last year. And part of this is providing a support role. It's about training female agents to be the best sales agents for their products, but it's also ensuring that they have adequate support and mentorship in place so that they can come back and seek advice if, for example, they're struggling in certain areas. So this, for example, is about how we connect with our customer, the ways in which we might be proactive and practical in the ways in doing that. And this training program that was developed actually is not it was developed in collaboration also with Solar Sister, is not just for the context of Tanzania. This can now, something like this can be replicated in other contexts. At the same time, the other project, Mopo Hubs, providing households with energy and e-mobility solutions through a pay-per-use battery sharing platform, so led by Mobile Power. This, I think, was based on their EC6 project, but I also know that they have an EC7 project, if I'm not mistaken. But again, it's a very common cause that there was a designing of a GESI strategy for the recruitment of their agents. You know, they appointed a full-time gender empowerment officer that was for support and gender and mentoring. There was a bespoke training program, the achievement of a gender equal workforce, but they've also then recently launched its all-female hub, and they continue to do that work. These two examples of that impact is that it's not just the case of we've now put a gender, we're committed to gender, to social inclusion. They've now taken different steps and actions, one throughout the projects that were funded by Catalyst, but also beyond that. So whether to other funding programs or actually into their company institutional profile. And it's actually at that point of being monitored every time and to be held accountable for that. I'll leave it there. I've sort of skimmed over a lot of details, and GESI is complex. It's not simple. But the fact is that now the Catalyst program, there is tailored support and there's mentoring, and that's going to be something really important for sort of those who are applying and those who are awarded to really get that support when needed. I'm sorry I've flown through that, but thank you.
Charlotte's presenting, so really good. We don't have time for questions, unfortunately, running slightly over. So if anybody has questions, can we pass them on to you, Charlotte? Great stuff, thumbs up. The only thing left on our agenda is a case study, which we're having by video. Unfortunately, those that were going to present on their experience in person weren't able to attend today. What we do have is a video from the online presentation excuse me, that we did 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to run that, and I can see people making for the door already. That's understandable. We did say we'd finish at 3. So Ash is gesticulating. Get to the next slide. Bring the video in. It's nearly there. And if you want to hear the actual experience of being part of an Energy Catalyst consortium and project, this is for you. It does take about 15 minutes, I think. As told by Simon from Pyrogenesis. If you'd like to have a one-to-one with any of the team, please do stay behind. We'll be here until not needed any longer. But for now, please enjoy.
Yeah, I think for me, first of all, it's important for everybody to realise that Energy Catalyst, for me, has been like a family, really, and it is in a way family, because there are many people that you'll meet through Energy Catalyst that can become collaborators. Craig is definitely one I would like to collaborate with very soon in the future, for obvious reasons when you see a little bit more about my technology. So I'm going to explain a little bit about what we do as Pyrogenesis, and then look at some bidding tips for you, and then admin kind of tips, and a few other things. Hopefully that'll be helpful. Okay, so yes, next slide, please. So Pyrogenesis, we're a UK bioenergy, biofuels and carbon removal technology provider. And we are focused on enabling communities and agri-processors to valorize various types of underutilized wastes, help them to convert that into renewable energy, biofuels, organic fertilizer and carbon removal. So our name, Pyrogenesis, and motto, all things work together for good, really embody what we do as an organization and our mission. Next up, this photo, by the way, is one of those kind of communities where they're harvesting cassava. They've harvested it and they're now cleaning the fields. Next slide, please. So here's a photo of an agri-processor that we visited, and we have our first contract to deliver a full-scale commercial system with. And really what we do as a technology provider is seek to integrate our technology, which is a patented pyrolysis technology called pyrochemy, with complementary technologies. So you can see, for instance, how we could work with Straw Innovations to develop circular economy systems that create value from combustible waste materials. So if you're going to be involved in that kind of like a sector, we'd be very interested in speaking with you. Pyrogenesis puts waste to work for the purpose of producing good outcomes in terms of energy access, value addition, carbon removal. in a way that's going to benefit base of the pyramid communities, as well as rural industries. Okay, next slide, please. So here's our pyrochemy technology. It's based on pyrolysis, which is an advanced thermochemical conversion technology. Pyrolysis basically heats things up in the absence of oxygen. There are chemical reactions that go on. That means it gives us a very useful product outputs that we can convert into energy and also to other useful materials. And then alchemy, of course, in the name, is a process that converts base materials, so low value materials, into high value commodities. And that's really what we're trying to achieve. So we should hopefully, if you've got a biomass, and it should be a waste biomass, and it's waste because it won't compete for food production. We don't want to compete, have competing land usage. And then we can do some very interesting things with that to create a circular economy solution. Next slide, please. Now, just to give you an idea, the reason why I'm in Nigeria, and this is a big part that Energy Catalyst has played to helping us to be here, for helping me to be here today, because they financed five projects financed by Innovate UK. So some were not Energy Catalyst. We had Energy Catalyst round 6, round 7. Like Craig, we've just been notified that we have Energy Catalyst round 8. So our focus, predominantly our primary market, is Nigeria. What you can see here is a map of Nigeria that represents 8,000 communities that are off-grid communities. So each of those green dots is an off-grid community. It turns out that 51% of Nigeria's population, they're in rural areas far away from any grid. And that means that 80 million people in this country alone live in rural areas without access to power. So there's a real energy trilemma that we're aiming to solve. By solving it, and with the help of Energy Catalyst, basically developing mini-grid solutions that actually work commercially and technically, that gives us and our consortium partners and our value chain partners access to a $9.2 billion per year market opportunity in mini-grids. That's huge. I'm sure there's equally big opportunities in other parts of the world, but this is where we've chosen to focus, and that's been facilitated through Energy Catalyst helping us to look at the market applications for our technology and develop the relationships with people on the ground, organizations on the ground that have helped us to understand this, where our technology is best going to be situated and how we can most effectively solve the problems. Next slide, please. So this is a photo taken in December. Oh, that should have said, I don't know why it says 2020. Oh yeah, it is 2020 actually. It seems like ages ago. So, this is effectively our project closure meeting. You'll see Alice is in there as well. Alice is a big champion of all Energy Catalyst projects. But one of the great things which I definitely recommend on the Brokerage event is you'll get to meet Alice in the flesh, and she's even more impressive in person. And also other people that could become project partners. I think we probably gained about 3 or 4, about maybe 4 or 5 actually, project partners through actual brokerage events. I went to Ethiopia, and also virtual brokerage events like this. In-country partners as well. There's about 4 in-country partners represented in this photo here. And really, real partnership, again, it's like, it should be like a family. This is almost 2 years ago, and I'm still working with all of these people now. And we're looking at putting in, other projects, developing work together. So what does a real partnership give you? Well, first of all, it should be symbiotic, which is you're all benefiting one another. And you're helping to leverage each other's resources. So in terms of knowledge, working with universities. In this case, we're working with the University of Leicester, and we've worked with Aston University as well. They've given us access to knowledge we didn't have, and capabilities as well. So, capacity, your partners give you capacity to deliver on the ground. When COVID hit, it was an absolute nightmare. We had in-country partners that meant that we didn't have to fly out. We couldn't. They were red listed in Ethiopia and Liberia and Sierra Leone. But our in-country partners gave us on-the-ground capacity. We shifted budgets to them. It took a project change request, as Craig pointed out earlier, to achieve that. And then resources. Everybody's got resources that mean that you don't have to use theirs. They've got something that they could do very cheaply and much easier than you could. Also networks. We were introduced to people that we needed to work with, and then opportunities as well that have come to us through our, partnership relationships. So, I think Innovate UK are very good, and Energy Catalyst especially, for looking for real partnerships. not make-believe ones. These are people who are fully committed, they're bought into your vision, they want to play a role in your supply chain, your value chain going forward. And if anybody's heard the joke about the chicken, the cow, and the pig, and they all want to please the farmer, they want to do something more for the farmer. And the chicken says, I'm willing to commit to laying 2 more eggs a week. And the dairy cow says, I'm going to produce 6 more litres of milk per week. And the pig says, for me, it's complete commitment. So there's a story between Craig and I. Craig is in the Philippines. I'm in Nigeria. Where we are at the cutting edge, where the action is happening. I think, you need to be ready to fully commit to this vision and make it happen and drive it forward, because it needs drivers and it needs presence. Nothing going to happen on the ground in Nigeria without you being there to make it happen, because I'm telling you, the amount of things that can go wrong, you actually need to have a presence. So they're looking for that, and they're looking for people who've got guts. They're looking for grit, resourcefulness. Alec from Cool Mill, he'll tell you, silly questions that he's been asked. If you meet a problem you've never seen before, how do you resolve it? It says, well, as an entrepreneur, that's your job. You figure out ways, and with your partners, you come up with a solution, and you just find solutions and you keep on going. Okay, next slide, please. So that's the importance of real partnerships. Bidding process. I'll just talk you through some of the tips, hopefully that might be useful to you. So in our case, we use Google Drives very extensively. You might use something else. But really, this gave us a shared access document that we could all edit in real time. So we could actually be talking in a meeting, discussing the bid, and we can see the changes that each other's proposing and approve them straight away. And typically, you'll get a core bunch of people who are working on this, sometimes through the night. And no joke, I've worked on bids, 48 hours without sleep, okay, with project partners, especially if there's a deadline and, and they're still on the phone or on Zoom with me, doing that bid. So you always have to decide who is going to be responsible for pressing that final button, and then have a backup plan if that person's not going to be available. So the edit, making sure that you've got somebody who's really good at editing these kind of documents, and because the word count is always problematic, but then making sure it's submitted and then notifying all the other partners. So in our case, on the first page, just as a bit of housekeeping, we wanted to know what the status of each question was. So we used the red, amber, green traffic light system to see how we started it. And then I'm on battery, by the way, because we've got no electricity, so I hope my battery doesn't run out. And if I lose network, you know why. It's in Nigeria. It's called the Nigerian factor. Right. So, we wanted to have regular reviews. So weekly might be good enough early on when you've got plenty of time, but it can get to daily, it can get quite hairy. Especially when you've got the deadline about to close. So that allows us to have review meetings, basically according to the need. If we needed to, sort something out, if it's daily, even several times a day, the key people need to be very much involved. And this means that we have to agree deadlines in advance when you start out. So give yourself as much time as possible. Agree those deadlines with your partners that you're going to write the bid with. And you want to gather everybody's responses, ideally. Everybody's got something to contribute, even if it's a sentence or two. It might just have that golden nugget that the person who's editing pulls it out, pops it in. The appendix sections are great to, put in really useful diagrams, label them up very well. This is going to tell assessors, put things into context for them that they have no clue about sometimes. Really useful information, include citations and everything in there as well. So we use numbered citations. And use our appendices for that to tie them together. And then, of course, which questions is each partner going to contribute to? That's a way of divvying up the work. Make sure you keep an eye out on the word count. You always want to, because you don't worry about going over it to start with. That's the person who's going to edit it will then condense that down into the hardest hitting, and most impressive response. So somebody who's a real wordsmith is very helpful on writing applications. Each question included a section containing links to citations, as I mentioned, so you've got to figure out, ways of reducing your word count. So, that's where the appendices can come in very handy. And then final review and approval by all partners, just to make sure everybody's happy with this. There's no deal breakers in there once that button is submitted, yeah? Okay, next slide, please. So, right. The project, again, in the bidding process, what is it actually going to do? What are you going to achieve? How do you tell that story? So ideally, why is anybody a partner? They should each be leading on one aspect of the project because they're all contributing to make this solution come together. And so each project partner should have their own work package that they are leading on, and they might have contributors from the other partners involved in that package as well. So we typically use a work breakdown structure, which I'll give you an example of what our one typically looks like in the next slide. And that will include a work package, and that work package will have tasks. And then the work package overall will have an objective. And then we have who are the different contributors, how many resource days, and and then that's how you build up your costs. Gantt charts, everybody knows how to use those, I'm sure. And then that will just summarize the work package tasks, start, end, duration, dependencies, deliverables, milestones. And then that helps, especially the deliverables and the milestones now are what you want to see tying into the monitoring reports. Next slide, please. So here you are. These are going to be shared later, so by all means, I won't spend well on this. Next slide, please. So admin burden. Next slide. Admin is a real burden. This is probably the thing that you undercosted and under evaluated and you just didn't realize how much time you're going to spend on managing a consortium if you're the lead. And even if you're just a project partner, you need to put together these quarterly reports. But we recommend that you have monthly meetings and monthly reporting that then feeds and builds up the quarterly reporting. But ideally, if you're a project lead and you're responsible for paying out and dispersing grant payments to everybody, and you're also showing what your spend is, it's probably a wise thing to set up an actual separate bank account so that you can track all the spend very easily relating to that project. Keep it completely separate to your company spend. Keep on file PDF statements of everything on that account, because your auditor will need that if you're claiming above a certain amount. And then, track and match all Innovate UK payments to actual partner claims on IFS. And this can become quite problematic, especially towards the end of the project, where Innovate UK typically withholds 10% of the final grant payment. And we've been in a situation where we paid out, but we overpaid because we then weren't reimbursed from Innovate UK the amount that we paid out, because Innovate UK was withholding 10%. So watch that one. It can trip you up, and that can put your cash flow under even greater pressure. So you need to get written approval for deducting foreign transaction fees in advance. Otherwise, you're going to end up paying those transaction fees, not your project partners, and that's going to cost you money that you hadn't budgeted for either. Corporation tax purposes, grants are not treated as income. You need an accountant that can explain that to the taxman. Otherwise, that could cause your end of headache with HMRC. And a simple one, just make sure your claims are not including VAT. Okay, so these are some simple rules. Okay, next slide, please. Performance, yes, agree with Craig. Dedicated person obtaining information from partners, collating reports, essential. It will overburden you as the entrepreneur. Capture progress updates from your partners, using an agreed template. We've got an example, I'll just give it to you, which is a monthly template that we used. Include photos, labeled diagrams, illustrate what those achievements were, bring it to life. It makes a quarterly monitoring meeting much more exciting. Use video as well, okay? Update your risk register, highlight new risks, propose your mitigations. Your monitoring officer will want to see that, as well as other documents that you have to submit information on, and then you have to prepare, submit a collated monitoring report ideally 2 weeks before the quarterly meetings with your monitoring officer, to give them time to digest it, maybe fire off a few questions to you before the meeting. So the meeting's pretty much a formality, and then it's all signed off and your claim gets processed far quicker that way. So this is how, I suppose, we had a bit of a different experiencing. We did get claims turned around fairly quickly because we had these kind of systems, that meant that we got our approvals all cleared up fairly sharpish. Next slide, please. So here's the template. You're going to have access to this afterwards. I won't talk through it because of the interest of time. We're running over. And give you. So next slide, please. Right, achievements. Really focusing on technical achievements. So in our case, we've developed a new technology. We had already built it. Innovate UK helped us to containerize it and then add some bells and whistles onto it. So these were technical achievements that we explained in the project. And commercial, what through your partnerships, what have they helped you to find out as to where's the best, where's your beachhead market in this particular country that you're looking to go into, that you're ready to spend a lot of time in, like Craig and I sat in Philippines and Nigeria. And then reputational, Innovate UK will boost your reputation to, especially in impact investors who are looking to play in this space. you know, and the industry that you want to get involved in. So in our industry, you know, what we found is that in this case, the photo here is of like a diesel burner. So one of the things that we do is we produce biofuels. And in our Ethiopian project, we showed how we could produce a diesel blending component and a kerosene, a renewable kerosene. And we can use that to replace the fuel that they're using in their diesel burners. So, you know, it has to come back to, it's not just innovation for the sake of grant money to do something you like. It's like, what's the market application? How are you going to bring this to market? And who's going to help you take this to market? Therefore, you need a real partnership. That's why Energy Catalyst, like I said, is a family. Brokerage events are great. I've had so many good interactions with people that have opened up a world of opportunities to us. You know, we were a 3-man band initially, and we grew through COVID from 3 to 13 because of Energy Catalyst. So that's what you can achieve. I really encourage. This is probably, if you're working outside of the UK, this is really the best, you know, UK funded program that I've come across. I highly recommend it to you, and everybody's always ready to help, whether they're Innovate UK or the KTN. Everybody's ready to support you, and they want you to succeed, and they will help you to succeed, and they want to be part of that journey, especially if it makes real sense with real partners who are committed to your vision as well. Thank you very much. Last slide, and these are my contact details if you need to get in touch because you're interested in collaborating with bioenergy, biofuels, or carbon removal technology provider like us. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. Not that he can hear.
Yeah, I think for me, first of all.
And that's a wrap. So you've heard about the competition, you've heard about how to go about applying, how to make the best application you can, what it can do for you, and a couple of examples of how it turns out in reality. Thank you for coming and braving the transport system. I've enjoyed today, hope you have, and safe journeys home. And if you want to chat with us, we did provide a form at reception. I haven't monitored it, but I think there's few enough of you in the room that you can probably just collar us individually. We'll be here for a while. Otherwise, safe travels. Thank you. Bye-bye.